is.
What I discovered is, and Gary, you and I don't know each other that well, but being self-aware I think is something very powerful. And I've realized that people, when they see the show, I was not the one that sold the most. But people will stop me on the street. They'll never say, "Oh, that was a nice price per square foot you sold last week." No one ever. From Australia to Sweden to the United States, everybody that watching the scope that we have of viewers, everybody always said the same thing. It's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Sure.
You inspire the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
I want to go on a date and I'm afraid. I rewind your episodes and I just watch you do your thing because it's not what you do, it's the way you do it. So I realized I have the ability to connect with people and to inspire people, especially the fact that I'm young and I can inspire older generations and newer generations. I think there is something much bigger than just brokering transactions, because the reality is I never and will never aim for money. Money will just happens to come with. And that's what I realized. And I said I want to do,
Did you save some money so you can go on this journey?
I spend it all in Italy. No.
I was like, look, you sold some homes, you bought some real property.
Yes.
So you got a little of the nest egg to give you time to figure it out. I don't know if you know this is a Q&A show, so we're gonna let India ask the first question.
What a beautiful name.
Thank you.
Listen, I told her earlier today that she might find her husband right now. All right, I don't know if you know this is a Q&A show, so we're gonna let
First one from Push Pull Sales.
Push Pull Sales.
Push Pull Sales asks, how do you balance professionalism and personality, especially since you were both so high energy?
How do I balance?
Professionalism and personality.
I don't.
That's what I was gonna say. Yes.
I thought you were going to. I don't know. Actually, that's actually a funny moment. We need to look at that clip. I thought that's what you were going to say, but so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get this in quicker. That's basically what just happened.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's the real answer.
It's a blend. The whole thing is, I don't think something is professional. I mean, there's a way to describe or categorize the word professionalism, but I think it's something you do in your life, and whether you are.
Plus, the market gets to decide. Who decided that cursing was not professional? Like who?
Somebody. Yes,
like
exactly.
The church 5,000 years ago? I don't know, and that's fine.
A shirt is not professional.
100%.
Full floor. How many square feet is this?
I have no idea.
15,000, 10,000.
I think we're crazy. How many square feet is this office? I think we have 50,000, 1.5. So this is 32. Now I think that's right. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, amazing. It's a great office. I don't.
I definitely
I'm glad that you don't.
I'm the least. As a matter of fact, my biggest thing is I want to make sure I don't become a caricature of myself. Like one thing that I'm proud of, if you ask me over the last 2 or 3 years, is I'm not doing shtick for shtick. Like I'm in my zone, but like my belief is it should go completely outer space. Plus the best part is I love underestimating. Like I love being underestimated and then delivering.
Yes.
Like the climb. That's all it is for me is the climb. Everything's the climb. And so for me, I think I probably even forced it subconsciously early on that I wasn't going to dress the part. I'm also.
I'm just
not even confident. Yeah.
You're just
so
you.
I think professionalism gets to be. I for one do not judge somebody as being professional or not professional depending on how they dress or how they talk or how. I just care if we can win. I just want to win. I don't care what they look like. I even let Patriot fans on my team.
I'm sorry, can I'm gonna go Snapchat on this.
Yeah, no worries.
Snapchat, I don't know why.
Because it's the greatest.
It's the most
it's super important.
ever made. When I first downloaded it, there's nothing like so much Snapchat. So
Yeah, he and my crew knows what to do.
Yeah.
Get in there. Face
When I
swaps.
first downloaded it, I didn't understand it.
Most people
What
did
is this
it,
going
yeah.
for? But then when you understand and you see the ability of telling stories,
It's unbelievable.
and then you can't live without it. I got like 30 minutes of content every single day. When I went to Italy,
Really?
I took everybody on everything. Good, bad, drunkness, and when I get drunk, I get very philosophical. In the morning.
Let me tell you what. India.
From David.
David.
David asks, how do you overcome objections based on perceived lack of experience, looking young and people doubting your ability?
We both had this too. Go ahead. You go first on this one.
I think that you can't argue with something genuine. And I think if you care and you're serious about whatever it is that you're doing and you're really passionate about it, no one can argue against that. And when you're young, you can be 3 years old and you can actually look at a 3-year-old boy, but when you speak from the heart, there is no age to that. And I think people will respect that because nobody can argue against something that is real.
Let me go in an interesting direction. Dying to hear what you think on this. I think it just doesn't matter. Let me explain. I actually think that a lot of people didn't take my wine advice when I was 24 and looked 7. I think a lot of people, even 10 years ago, didn't take my business advice because I didn't look the part or this or that. I actually think this is a question, India, audience, everybody, that is actually a post game. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is, it's just, I'm a broken record. It's results. When you come with passion, and both of us come with passion, if we lose, we were full of shit. If we win, we were passionate. So what I'm fascinated by with entrepreneurship and the game is, it actually doesn't matter in the beginning. Somebody's gonna give you a shot. Like if you knock on 1,000 doors, there's people that say yes. I say yes all the time to things that make no sense, D-Rock. I do it all, it's true. I do it all the time. Winners do that. It's really funny. Winners are the one that put winners on.
Yeah.
But winners also deal with a lot of losing players. But winners and optimists are always gonna give you that shot, right? One episode I definitely saw in the background working with Lizzie. I mean, I know TV's a lot more staged, but I'm sure it's a replication or maybe real. I don't know how you guys rolled. You go to that Nets game,
yes,
that dude's a big dude. Like winners give you, Stephen Ross, one of the biggest developers in the world, is my business partner. Winners give people at-bats. And so I would answer this question of saying, look, 90 out of 100 people are gonna say no. The game is proving those 90 wrong later. I got an email the other day from a former client that makes me want to fly. I hate to think that I'm built on I told you so, but I'm built on I told you so. I love that feeling. I love that feeling. It's a great feeling. And I just think that that's how people should be driven. Recognize that there's nothing you and I are gonna say that's gonna change somebody who wants to say no to that person because they look young and don't have experience. It's not about who says no, it's about who says yes, and then you have to deliver.
Yes.
And then when you deliver, everybody looks back and says, of course, you had passion. There's a million people running around that had passion, but then they ended up becoming losers or scam artists because they didn't deliver.
And I'll tell you something, I think being young is one of the best assets someone can have now. Because when you have that passion and when you have that conviction about whatever it is that you believe in, that you're pitching or selling, whatever it is that you're doing, the fact that you look young, it actually there's a beauty to it. And I think now, like you're saying, it's changing.
Well, it's a good era for Young too,
Yes.
with Zuckerberg and the social networks and Snapchat, Evan Spiegel. I mean, Young has never been more professionally
Yes.
accepted. Anybody who complains about being young now doesn't realize that I'm 40. My generation, young meant for the first 10 years of your business career, you ate shit.
You're gonna have to do a video about old people feeling. I remember
The reverse.
that.
That's
It's
right.
the reverse.
Thank you
It's
very much.
interesting.
All right, let's go. Oh, video.
Hey Luis, let's talk leads. What is the best way you have found to get leads besides referrals? I know referrals are great, they're an essential part of every business, but what's the single best way you found to get leads?
So early in your career, before anybody knew,
I actually still do it.
Which
Cold
is?
calling, man. I love cold calling, man. I swear.
we are pretty similar, bro.
Yeah.
I believe
I love
there is no leads. You have to go take them. Go
100%.
take them.
And the sound of an authentic voice over the phone will never change. You know, there.
And by the way, digitally too. How are we sitting here? You emailed me and said, I want to be on.
And
I'm like,
I mean,
okay.
you responded like in 2 seconds.
I'm fast.
That was pretty impressive. And yeah, and I think cold calling. Everybody is the same bullshit. With women, what's the script? There's a book called The Game. What the fuck kind of game is that? and then there's a script for. I understand, but the person that you're pitching today will have a different mood tomorrow. Will have a different way of seeing things tomorrow. So you'll never know what day are you going to catch that person. As long as you're yourself and you are very convicted about exactly what it is that you're saying and whatever it is that you're getting their attention, you will get their attention on a bad day, on a good day, while they're having sex or getting a blowjob under the table. It's still.
I love it. I'm excited. I'm excited for the comments. I mean, look, I think what you're referring to that's very, very important is that, and this is why I talk in boxing references. I think it's
I love this guy.
I think it's counterpunching. I think it's counterpunching.
100%.
Like, well, you love me because we're both salespeople, and what salespeople know is you get another at bat, and you have to react.
People. Like if we're actually outside the office and we're
Yeah.
having a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
We're not
Why can't we have
saying-
wait a minute, you just censored yourself from a glass of wine. Yeah, you said blowjob 3 seconds ago. I thought that was super interesting.
No, I'm just
Did
saying.
you hear it?
So yes,
I drink wine.
So tequila.
Okay, great. I'll drink tequila. Okay, interesting.
So if we're doing that, we're not. I mean, I like you because forget about
Well,
this.
listen, I'm extremely likable.
Yes,
Do you know about this?
Yes, I can
This is
see
a big
that.
deal.
I can see that.
Let's go. India, I'm extremely likable.
India, tell him.
But admit it, I'm stunningly likable.
This is the amount of clips of me praising you. I'm just like,
I want more. I want more.
I did super good.
All right, let's go.
Nice Tat Co asks, what's your major key?
What's my major key?
Yeah, like do they call it?
I get the reference.
Yes. I think my major key is, only doing the things that make you happy. I think you can only. I think when you're happy, you're creative. When you're creative, you produce. When you produce, you see results. When you see results, you do it over again. Most people think that they're not creative, but they don't have the ability to create. That is not true. I think everybody has the ability to be great, and they may just not know it yet. But I think that when they are in a position when they're happy, and like authentically happy, they can build things that they never thought they could. So I think that would be my key.
My major key you brought up earlier, which is why a lot of my team smiled. I think self-awareness is the key.
Self-awareness.
Because I think it's similar to, it's funny, you also said something that I push against a little bit, which is being great is an interesting definition. Depends on how one defines it. I believe that anybody can be the best version of themselves if they can find the thing that they were naturally meant to do that's the best in them, right? And I do think that I think self-awareness is just.
And that comes with getting to know yourself, spending time to understand yourself. I think allows you to be more convicted about certain things. And
It's funny for me. I almost feel like I'm meditating in parallel with my speed.
Okay.
I've never.
I like that actually.
I feel like I'm doing it in parallel.
I love that.
You like that?
I think I do it too. I never realized it.
Yeah, what I haven't done and I'd like to do is a 26-day trip to think about it. But to me, I do it in parallel.
Yes.
I'm in motion and reflective at all times.
Yes, I love that. Is there a term? Do you come up with a term for that?
I think it's Vaynerism.
Parallel meditating?
I don't know. There probably is. I'm such an F student.
It's okay.
People are just laughing right now. They're like, no, you mean Bajuga?
No,
Yeah, of course.
I actually like that.
That's what I do. That is literally what I do. I'm basically auditing in real time. It's a matrix as I'm moving fast as shit.
But you're always meditating for the rest of your life.
For the rest of my life, it's why I'm so happy.
Yes, and that's
That's why
you evolve so
I'm
fast.
pulling in opposite directions.
And everything is an epiphany, or you're always looking for one. Everything. I love it. I love
You have
it.
one more question, right? Yeah, let's do it.
Last one from Chris.
Chris asks, how many jobs have you had before being super successful, and how has it helped you now?
My first job was a janitor
When were you born?
in 1996, November 13th. Get the fuck out of here! Stop.
November 14th. What? Yeah, I was married on November 13th. Yep. Interesting. November 13th, 1996. I was in. You were born 86? Oh, thank God. Thank God. Yeah, way better. 86. I was like, it looks so good. Right, and how old were you when you came here?
16.
Great. So you come here at 16, before AJ was born. So I was getting super pumped for my birthday, and the last one without my little
That's
bro.
insane.
It's awesome. So what were we talking about again? I got so excited.
First job.
So you were, but where were you born?
In Puerto Rico.
Right, and how old were you when you came here?
16.
Great. So you come here at 16.
To Fort Lauderdale,
Okay.
Florida. And I worked as a janitor at night in a community college, and I worked at Hollister during the day. They never even put me on the floor.
Right.
I was in the stockroom putting sensors on the shirts.
Nice.
But
And then what?
And then I became. I worked at a film school, working on the rental departments, putting all the getting all the
Tape
gear
sorts?
out,
Yep,
putting it back in, organizing, putting it all together. And then you've done that. Yeah.
Yes, Stefan.
I'll tell you something. It's a job never defined me. I understood what I was doing it, and I was trying to make it. When I was cleaning bathrooms,
You made it fun.
Yes, I was caught dancing with my broom at 7 o'clock at night. People would tell me you're the happiest janitor I've ever seen. But it actually allowed me to do something, and I knew.
What did you do right before real estate?
Film directing. but that was not a job.
Oh, wait. I also saw this clip. I mean it, Lizzie watches this all the time, so it's in the background. You had some crazy success, you had weird hair.
Yes.
And you had you had a successful thing happen.
Yeah, it was until I did a film that to me it was not a disaster. It was a disaster because I wasn't able to understand storytelling too well. So the picture looks amazing, great cinematography, but there was no
soul.
I couldn't tell a story well. So you could see people having a conversation, but there was no soul behind it. I was too young to do it. I was 19, and I got very frustrated. That's how I started in the. It's a much longer story, but
We need to figure out that story. That's it.
That's all the questions.
This was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
So the guest always gets to ask the community a question. So you'll get hundreds, if not thousands, of replies on Facebook and YouTube to your question from them. Now, based on what I sense here, we have a lot of similar vibes. So this audience is very much in this ecosystem. So you can ask them anything. You can ask them to predict the score of tonight's Yankees game. You can ask them the meaning of life. You can use this for market research if you really are curious about something, or just whatever you thought about in those 26 days.
I actually would like to know how many people, and I think I would really like to know how many people are doing or working on something that they already know doesn't make them happy, but they convince themselves they should stay for the sake of safety nets.
Most.
So I'd like to know, and please be honest, I'd like to really know, and it's
Yeah, we'll send you the links. You'll get in there.
Yeah.
This was fun.
It was amazing.
Thanks for being on the show.
November 14th.
I love that.
Scorpio.
What time were you born? Did you almost make it to the
1:03
p.m.?
AM.
Oh no, that's the beginning of the day. Okay, so we're good. And I was 3:30 a.m. So yeah. All right.
look at that.
You keep asking questions.
Yep.
We'll keep answering them. On this episode, India turns into the professor. The Ask Gary V Show. Hey everybody, this is Gary V, Nerd Chuck, and this is episode 222 of the Ask Gary V Show. Beautiful day in New York City. Dunk is periscoping. Oh, he's double-fisted. I like that, doing something else. And India has transformed into an elderly, not elderly by India standards, an older gentleman from Europe. True. Why don't you tell the Vayner Nation who you are, what you're doing here for the week, and then a little bit about yourself.
I'm Niklas Meyer, the social media professor.
Not me, them.
And I actually find your take on education quite refreshing. You're not the biggest fan, obviously, but I thought I would get a cold shower of reality this week, so thank you for the internship opportunity. The reverse internship, learning the real world at VaynerMedia to see what kind of world my students get into when
That's
they
great.
get out.
And so, we've known each other for a nice little while now. Where do you teach? I think it would be a fun
I
thing
teach at Chapman University in Southern California, which is a good private college, and we put out MBA students and undergrads, hopefully to VaynerMedia and other places in the world.
Yeah, awesome. It's great to have you. How's it going so far? How's Andy? Andy's show Andy. It's a mean looking. He's a tough guy.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to work for him. I'm glad that he works for me.
He goes to work sorting staplers and sorting.
But so what do we say? Tuesday?
Tuesday.
So yesterday was the first day.
Yeah.
So what's your first 36-hour observation of Vayner? Obviously it's a new fancy office.
Yeah,
Your timing was great.
Yeah.
Did you plan that on purpose?
Perfect. I was very impressed. People are really looking like they fit in, and they're really focused, and everyone is talking about Musical.ly. So I started a Musical.ly account yesterday, and my 12-year-old daughter Selma is going to learn.
I love
Teach
it.
me how to do it.
I love it.
And it seems to be people are really taking this job seriously, but they seem to work for the passion and seem to be motivated intrinsically.
Great.
Very impressive.
Well, appreciate it. All right, let's get into the show. Good to see everybody. I'm really looking forward to the fall. I'm trying not to travel as much in September, so hopefully we'll get into a great cadence after Labor Day. One thing you guys should know, just for general content purposes, starting the middle of next week, I'm taking a good 2.5 weeks with the family, so we'll be very quiet. There'll be a lot of DJing content. Andy, you can finally find all those little short video clips that are deeply entrenched somewhere. I feel like Dunk should watch every hour of raw footage of every daily V, so it's 60 by then, times about 8 hours each. Yeah, 480 hours worth of raw footage of just me. All right, let's do it. First question. Who's asking it?
Yeah, Parsa has a video question here.
Okay.
Which
Hey Gary, this is Parsa. What do you think about using Snapchat as a way to sell and buy products with Snapcash? Would that be Snapchat's next big move?
Parsa, I think it's an interesting thought. Obviously, a lot of people in the US and Europe entrepreneur scene are affected by WeChat's unbelievable success of not only being a content and a communication, but a retail platform in China. I think Snapcash is something that Snapchat is deprioritizing. I think on the flip side, I think we're gonna see a lot more commerce coming from Facebook. I predict that a lot of you will be selling a ton of stuff through Facebook 24 months from today. And so I think Parsa, for Snapchat, I'm not sure. I think that they're, internally, I'm sure they're thinking about their roadmap. I'm curious to think about what they're thinking about Instagram stories. Do they feel like, one of the observations that I'm kind of leaning towards is, I don't think Instagram stories kills Snapchat, but I definitely think it may slow down the migration of 35 to 55-year-olds over to the platform if they can use Instagram to feed that kind of storytelling. So how are they thinking about that? But I think I was bullish and excited about Snapcash. I thought it was a good move by them to do that way back when. I think it's something you can consider. My intuition is what you're trying to accomplish ends up becoming a big business within Facebook in the next 24 months.
awesome. And I'm
Ted?
learning the ropes. Ted has a video question.
Let's do it.
What's going on, Gary? Big fan. My name is Ted Bettridge and I'm a 13-year-old graphic designer from the UK. So I recently started my design company and I'm presenting it on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and just about to start YouTube. So I'm proud of being a 13-year-old designer and I think I can use that as a growth hack to make myself better known out there. But some clients, when they find out that I'm 13, take that back as a negative without actually seeing my work and knowing the full story. So how would you recommend me going around presenting myself and my business as a 13-year-old designer? Cheers, Gary.
Cheers, mate. Teddy, listen, I think you're all excited up front of like, I'm gonna differentiate myself by being 13, and then you're like, but some clients don't like it. Of course, you're 13. Like literally Andy has like sneakers older than you, right? I mean like, this is unbelievable. And your composure and your charisma on the video, you're gonna be very successful. I have a funny feeling that whatever you decide to do, the same way when I met Dunk, we met in a hotel room, I'm like, you're coming to America. Like some young kids just have it, you know, I could tell way more because I spent more time with him to know if that he did have it. I'm not sure about you, that's a good first impression for me, getting on this show at all. But here's the reality, my friend. You're gonna learn this at 13, you're gonna learn this at 16, you're gonna learn this at 19, you're gonna learn this at 27, you're gonna learn it at 40, how old are you?
53.
Look great. You're gonna learn it at 53. As I'm sure you know what I'm about to say is true. You gotta take the good with the bad. You gotta take the good with the bad. For everybody who's gonna give you notoriety or write an article about you or actually use you because you're 13, there's gonna be people that don't. For everybody that loves that I keep it real and authentic, there's plenty of people that don't wanna work with me because I curse or because I push against the traditional systems.
Not in social media marketing world.
Did they like it?
Yeah.
Yes, they did, you're right. But the punchline's very simple, which is this, that like, you need to be you. Don't hide that you're 13 because you think you'll make more money. You're 13, and if you've got real talent, that's gonna serve you extremely well. And so I think the reality is, how would I play it? By just being you and doing your thing and not dwelling on the negatives and not getting too big-headed about the positives. Don't get too upset when somebody cancels an order when they found out you were 13, and don't think you're hot shit just because somebody wrote some cool Business Insider headline that says, 13-year-old stuns with his graphical design skills.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Chris has a question for you.
Okay.
Chris asks, if the Jets win the Super Bowl before you buy the team, will you lose interest?
So I've been really scared of this question. This is actually a true story. I did not want this question to be asked because the truth is, I don't know. Let's start there. I love how I'm looking into yonder trying to find my future self. Basically, I'm looking outside right now and I'm like picturing myself jumping over a fence and running on the field and like tackling Brandon Marshall and getting arrested. I don't think I want to buy them.
Oh, yeah.
Not only that, I got something scarier. I don't know if I'm going to care about them at all. I'm telling you, Ken Scelfo, if you're watching right now, please leave a comment. Ken Scelfo will tell you that 15-year-old me in 1992 at North Hunterdon High School was a bigger New York Ranger fan than a New York Jets fan. And that is the hidden story of who I am. I always wanted to buy Jets, so that's kind of interesting. So football was my true favorite sport, but the Jets weren't good, and so you lose steam. And the Rangers were making their march to my first championship. That was one right there, one of the great moments of my life. And I think here's what I can tell you. If the Jets win the Super Bowl this year, 3 years from now, 6 years from now, before I get a chance to buy them and win the Super Bowl, there is a significant chance that all of my sports energy will be deployed aggressively towards the New York Knicks because they would be my last team that hasn't won. And they've already got a big part of my attention. They've just been so bad for 15 years, it's siphoned any excitement out of my body. But I'm very concerned about this question. It's actually the scariest question. Besides the things I care about, which are the health of my family, it's one of the weird, scariest things in my life. I do not want the Jets. Deep down, I don't think I want the Jets to win the Super Bowl.
Well, I'm a hockey fan from Sweden, so you can go with the Rangers.
Yeah, no, our goalie, Mr. Lundqvist. All right.
All right, and then we have Gus here as a question.
Gus.
Gus asks, which pro athlete or celebrity is most marketable but isn't monetizing it yet?
That's a great question. Who is the most monetizable celebrity or athlete right now who's under monetizing? Okay, so I don't know the answer because I don't really dig too deep into that world. I mean, I know, but I don't know. And I don't like talking about things I don't know, but I'm gonna give a very smart answer. I believe on looks and charisma, it is somebody who's an athlete that is not a star player. So what I mean by that is, I believe that, well look, Chris Humphries, right? He's a very solid, gutsy, rebounding NBA player, but he became dramatically more famous and could monetize because Kim Kardashian and him dated and actually got married for 4 minutes. So I think that that's a good comp. I think that there's a stunningly handsome or beautiful man or woman who's an athlete, who's not the star of their team, who either is gorgeous and can play the modeling role along with athlete, though that doesn't play out because sports, a lot of times they'll rag on you that you're just pretty and you can't get it done on the field. I actually think, as I'm talking this through, it's the most charismatic. So what do I mean by that? I believe that if somebody started vlogging Casey Neistat, style right now in the NBA as the 9th man off the bench, was a great guy, had a little charisma, was a great storyteller, knew how not to blow up the spot of his fellow athletes, showed the real life of being on a bus before the game with fans, his own life, his crazy brother, his awesome mom. I think that that is the person right now, the most charismatic storyteller that can be doing it with a phone, that happens to not be the best player on the team, has the most storytelling capabilities that hasn't been deployed yet. Awesome. Gilbert Arenas did this. Gilbert Arenas was a very nice up-and-coming NBA player who then had some big-time seasons, who was the first guy to blog and use MySpace way back when and became much more famous than he actually was and got better endorsement deals because of it. So that's what I would say. It's really anybody who's it's anybody who's a B or C list celebrity or athlete that needs to act like me or Casey or like Nash Greer or like Musical.ly stars. They need to do the internet thing while they're on the mainstream plateau.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then I got a chance to ask a question.
You get to ask a question.
Yes.
This is a very big moment, Professor.
It is.
Can I call you Professor?
Yes, actually, I have
Professor.
Because
Put up a big, Stefan, a little editing for you.
If
Professor.
the Attorney General was forbidding you to run
Is that
business
your question?
for a while, yes,
Oh,
and
shit.
forced you to go teaching for a semester, and then
I would be pumped, as long as everybody else couldn't run businesses either. If I was just picked on, I'd be pissed. That sounds more like communism. So if everybody was, I'd be happy. It's the same way I feel about the last 2 weeks of August. Do you know why I'm comfortably taking off for the last 2 weeks of August? Because most people take the last 2 weeks of August, and I know there's not gonna be as much productivity, and so I'm not falling too far behind. If I had to teach a semester, what's the question?
how would you structure and teach social media marketing?
So I would probably, if I was allowed to, on a university level, I probably would be, and obviously take out the economics, could we afford to, I would try to get them out of the classroom as much as possible, whether physically or mentally. And what I mean by that is mentally, we would be in our apps doing, creating. I would get the kids out of, if I was in Chapman, California, I would go to local businesses, I would take the 29 kids in class, we'd go to Lou's Pizza Shop, and be like, Lou, we're here, and we're here to work. What do you need? And I very much believe, I'm so proud of you, I'm so thankful that you reached out to me, and you're taking us up on this week, because you're gonna go be better. You're gonna go back to school, and what you're gonna learn this week, you're gonna be better, because it's real. This is real. And the classroom is less real. It's less of the market. It just is. And so my answer to your question is, I would force them to do real shit. Like, I would just try to get them to do as much real stuff as much as possible. Like you can watch Gary Vee videos, you can read books, you can pontificate, you can debate, but nothing beats getting thrown out. Like, I can tell kids about swimming. Okay, so what you want to do, right? I can tell you, we can debate what the best stroke is. But how are you gonna be a good swimmer? You're gonna throw that kid in the pool. And so I would put the kids in as many real life situations as possible. And I would do it in a couple different ways. One, I would try to use my connections if I was allowed to based on this fantasy world you've created, and get them to go to like Under Armour or a Toyota, see how they think about it. But then I'd also do a competition. The last 3 weeks of the semester, I would say, okay, we're all gonna go to the farmer's market. You all have 3 weeks to figure out what you're gonna sell in the farmer's market, and then all you can use is digital for the whole 3 weeks leading up to it, and then whoever sells the most fruit wins. And so like try to get them into that kind of mentality, because I think that matters. I'm very scared, Professor, of 8th place trophies. I'm very scared of rewarding people for success that isn't real. We would have the fruit and vegetable farmer's market competition, and then the next day in class, I would say, unbelievable job, Sally. And I would say, Elliot, you suck. Like, you are a loser. You sold $8 in radishes, and let's break down why you sucked. I mean, your Instagram was boring. I don't know what the hell you were thinking. Like, your radishes look like shit, so let's start with the biggest thesis, which is no marketing fixes crap product. So these are the things that we would go through.
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna use this for my class. Thanks.
Thanks for being on. Question of the day. You get to ask it, my friend. You get to ask the VaynerNation any question you want, Professor. Answer the professor's question.
Yeah, in terms of the CEOs, what advice would you give to them to humanize their brands, and what platforms, what media formats?
Detail.
Yeah, detail. Examples. State of the art, 2016 August.
Love it. Thank you, my friend.
Awesome.
You keep asking questions, we'll keep answering them. On this episode, E.T. stops by. Tell him.
With Gary Vee.
You ask questions, and I answer them. This is the Ask Gary Vee Show. Hey everybody, this is Gary Vaynerchuk, and this is episode 223 of the Ask Gary Vee Show. Don't laugh about me screwing up episode, D-Rock, I saw that. Eric, I'm really glad we did this, man.
Likewise.
For a long time, people kept like, I would get these random emails back in the day saying like, hey, you're like the small white version of Eric. I'm like, who the fuck is Eric? It was always really funny to me, and obviously in the last couple months we connected on digital, and I'm glad we made this happen.
Yeah, I'm glad to be. I've always wanted to see the Gary Vee live. You know what I'm saying? The guys would know I would do that. Like I would do it on my own. Like one of these days I'm gonna see it live. So I got it off my bucket list.
I appreciate it. Now, why don't you tell the few people that don't know who you are a little bit about yourself, where you come from, how you roll?
Eric Thomas, man, high school dropout. Mom got pregnant with me at 17. Didn't really start talking to my father until I was 30. The whole nine. Homeless, sleeping in abandoned buildings. And my guy CJ, man, we built this company from, I don't know, we had 50 cents, no cents, I don't know.
Negative cents?
Negative cents.
Owed a couple people from around the way.
Literally built this motivational brand, from the bottom up. And so now, of course, we work with corporate people like, Cavaliers with Dan Gilbert, sat down with Warren Buffett, working in the NBA, NFL, traveling the world doing this thing. So
how did it start? CJ, give CJ a little camera time. Yeah, let's give CJ some camera time. It's true. It's true. Listen, I know how much everybody around me matters, and I think a lot of people don't. You and I are lucky because we were gifted with DNA that allows us to communicate, motivate us. We're a vessel, but there's a lot of people that make things go.
Yeah, so 11 years ago, I sat in the room and heard this guy speak.
Yeah.
And I watched like 17, 18, 19-year-old kids like
stand up.
Like silent. They couldn't even move, and you could tell how it was impacting them. I said, I don't know what this is. I don't know how we built this into a company. I don't know how we spread this across the globe. But I'm down to die trying with you. I believed in the message that much, and from that day forward, we were just like, all right, let's figure it out.
Get it.
And so, how did you get to that? So it was him speaking.
Absolutely.
So how did you get there? What was that
Yeah,
about?
I got college. It was so funny. Like we would go to these major cities, and these guys I was with, like they were like, theology majors, and they would like speak at these different places, and I wasn't good enough. So I would speak at like the flea markets. You know what I'm saying? I would speak.
How do you even begin to think about speak? First of all, you said you didn't even start talking to your dad till you're 30. You look 30 now. How old are you?
I'm 45. Yeah, 45.
That's great.
Yeah.
So why did you start speaking at a flea market or to the corner? Like, why did that even happen?
I think for me because, somebody spoken to me when I was about 17 years old, and they literally saw this. Like when I was 17, sleeping in abandoned buildings, not taking showers, eating out of trash cans, they were like, yo, you got something. I was like, well, what is that? You know what I'm saying?
Was that the first time you
That was the first time.
yeah.
There was an older man who was like, yo, you can do it. So he helped me to get my GED, sent me out to college.
And who was this man?
His name was P.C. Willis. He was a pastor at a local church that I kind of went to every now and then with one of my homeboys. And it was just unbelievable. He helped me get my GED, sent me 780 miles away from Detroit. And I just got in a new environment in college. And once I got there, I was just like, I was so grateful that I had to pay it forward. So I was like, yo, what this guy did for me, I've got to do unto others. And that's what I've been doing, just speaking life into people who just don't believe that they can do. So many people think that like you have to have a mother or a father in your life. Like you have to go to a certain school. You have to, and I don't believe that. I believe when you wake up and you're ready to like live, at that point, I can help you to get from where you are to where you want to be. And that's why I said, some people think, when you look at certain successful people, maybe their fathers passed something down or their mothers passed down. It's like, no, it doesn't make a difference if they pass it down or not. Everybody's got to wake up and grind. And if you're willing to work like they're willing to work, you can have whatever you want.
Agreed. So like one thing that is interesting to me sitting here, something literally popped in my mind, which is, I don't know if you've ever heard this, your crew's ever heard this. I so associate myself as a businessman, right? Like I build businesses and I happen to be motivational. I was sitting here and I was like, I always say your truth is what has to be done. I think a lot of people want to be motivational speakers, life coaches. There's money in it. It seems like, well, I don't know, I'm just gonna tell you and like, wow, right? And I'm sitting here and like, here's a guy who does the motivational thing. I don't really love associating that much with motivational thing. I don't know why I feel good about it. And then you're telling, I don't know your story at all. I don't know anything. I'm like very weird. I just go with whatever I feel. And I'm sitting here like, truth again. He was motivated by a man. That became his gateway. And he's scratching his own itch. He's reverse engineering.
Absolutely. And for me, here's the deal. A lot of people say ET is motivational speaker. Really, I'm not, Gary.
What are you?
I started as an educator.
Yeah.
So I got a degree in education. I started with a GED program.
Yeah.
I was just great at the GED program.
Right.
And I think that's where people go wrong. People think that it is a profession that makes you great. It's not. I believe you have to be great, and you take whatever you're doing, and you make that thing.
Do you get mad how do you process when somebody says you're a motivational speaker?
I get pissed because it's like, yo, like, don't minimize me. Like, don't make me into that. Like, I taught a GED program. Like, you build businesses, I build people.
Yep.
I just happen to be able to talk about what I do. A lot of people can't talk about what they do. I just talk about it, but I build people. If you put me in a room with somebody that's about to get a divorce, I guarantee they won't get one. You put me in a room with somebody
or they might. Right? Because I assume, because this is what I do when I motivate or try to mold, I'm trying to reverse engineer the truth. Some people should get a divorce.
Oh yeah, I feel you. Now,
you know what I mean though? Sometimes people walk in like, I don't want a divorce, I sit and listen, right? But, but listen, I assume you do this, maybe I'm wrong, but no, I'm not, because you wouldn't be here if you listen. Yeah. People walk in like, I don't want this to happen, I listen for 20 minutes, I'm like, no, you do want that to happen, right? Like, it's very interesting. All right, Andy, what are you doing here? This is not India, this is not the professor. Okay. Were you? No, I this is, he's never asking the questions. Are you just excited? Like, why are you here?
India had some projects he had to work
Oh,
on.
India got fancy. All right, what's the first question?
Because I'm used to her when I watch it. I'm used to her, He's not as pretty as she is.
No, he's really not.
All right, a video test.
Was your password was crazy.
Yes.
What is that? You go like.
Let's go back and forth.
Respect. All right, let's see. Bye.
Hey Gary, hey ET, it's Byron Lazine. I appreciate you guys taking the question. I'm about to go into the gym here. It's 5:45, trying to get my hustle on.
5:45
I sent a
p.m.?
question into Gary last week, and I hope whoever's editing this will throw in my YouTube channel here, trying to obviously get a little bit of exposure. But you guys have been such a big inspiration to me. ET, I found you a number of years ago. The talk you did to that classroom inspired the crap out of me. I've watched it over 100 times. Gary, the first time I saw you was a keynote to Remax. You ripped their faces off. And I'm going to be giving a keynote, actually, or rather an 18-minute talk at the Tom Ferry Summit next week. This is the Super Bowl of all real estate conferences. I've done 200, 300, 400 person talks, but this is in front of 5,000 people. What advice do you have for me stepping up into the big leagues? And guys, I'd also like to know, when your speaking career really launched, were you out pushing that? Or did you let all those paid speaking opportunities come to you? How do you grow a paid speaking business? Thanks guys, be well.
Eric, what would you, let's answer, go ahead, you go first.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say this, because you talked about that first speech. Again, Gary, I wasn't doing that for the world. It's an accident that video came out. Like, I had no idea that.
Somebody was recording it and put it on YouTube?
Actually, a guy recorded it for his thesis.
Yep.
Never used it for his thesis.
Okay.
So, the only reason he mic'd me up is because
when was this?
This was 10 years ago. Actually, the anniversary to the Guru story is this school year. So that's when I did it, right?
And that was your breakout?
That was the breakout. Well, when we say breakout, we mean to the world. I have 2 careers. The first one was I've been doing this.
100%.
Yeah,
like,
I've been doing this for 10 years.
People are like, oh, you broke out. I was like, yeah, I worked every day of my life. I finally broke out.
Right, so if you call breakout after 18 years.
If you call breaking out like punting anything that was happy and fun and easy and just grinding my face off, I broke out.
Yeah, so for me, that speech was to about 40 or 50 kids from the inner city who were about to get kicked out of Michigan State, and I was going off. I was just going off because it's like they don't have 3 chances. Like their parents, just got laid off of Ford, GM, and Chrysler. We're talking about when the country hit the recession. These kids' parents have lost their job. GM, Ford, Chrysler, all crashing. This is their chance to get a degree.
And they're bullshitting.
So I'm going off.
Of course.
Somebody happens to record it.
Especially because, I'm gonna use that as my answer, which is when you tell your truth, it's not scary to talk to one, it's not scary to talk to 50,000. You ask me right now to read your email, right now. If you gave me a long email and said read it, I'd be scared shitless. You know why? I'm bad at reading. I don't like reading. It's not what comes natural to me. It's like I can go speak in front of this whole city, this whole thing. Give me 80 million people. I'm ready. Give me the mic. I'm going. I'm ready right now. You asked me to read in front of this inner circle. I'm like, you know, let's go get a drink, guys. Like, no, that's stupid. Let's do business. Like, it's unbelievable. So to Byron, just go speak your truth. The biggest mistake people make, and you're by accident similar to me. I was a businessman just going to a conference. I don't know. Like, you know, the number one reason people fail is because they have to think. And when you think, because you don't know, because you're trying to fake it, you know what's easy for us, and yours is more extreme than mine, but I have my version of it. When you're not at any plateau, when you've been there, like nothing's super scary. What you're gonna laugh at me? Like when like kids made me drink pee because I couldn't speak English? Like things aren't scary. What is somebody gonna do to you? Like when you're eating shit out of the fucking corner? Like who's gonna do what? Somebody's gonna laugh at you at a conference? They didn't like the way you curse? Like, I mean, that's the silly, like, so I think the biggest thing is to talk your truth, Byron. Don't try to act bigger than you are. Everybody does that. Oh, now that I'm on a big stage, let me make pretend or embellish that I sold a lot of apartments, or you know, people embellish or fake it, and then you're scared. You're scared somebody's gonna call you out on it. You're scared somebody's gonna come. You know what I'm pissed about? I Tyler right now. I'm getting my report card right now sent to me. My report cards from high school, because somebody in the comment section of Facebook said, Gary, you weren't that bad of a student from high school, only because I think they liked me and they didn't want to believe I was such a bad student. I'm like, oh, you think so? Let me go get them. You know, like, so I just think it's truths.
And I would say to him as well, you know, give them something, man. Like, too many people spend so much time talking about their accomplishments and what they've done. Give them something. Give them a tool or two that they can literally take. I'm talking about as soon as, like, don't, I listen to some of these guys, no disrespect, but it takes about 18 messages before you actually say something to me, right? So I'm saying, do me a favor, just give them one or two things that as soon as the conference is over, they can literally take with them and actually use.
I'm super mad you said that, because you're more right than what I was saying. It's more important than your truth, even though this doesn't sound like it. I believe that 90% of talks in public today are press releases for that person, and they're doing propaganda for themselves, and then they just leave.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to guilt motherfuckers to loving me. That I gave them so much that they're like, damn. Like honestly, you know what I like about Kendrick Lamar?
What do you like about Kendrick Lamar?
I like, oh, we got a nice little cadence going here. I like that when I feel like if I was good enough to be a rapper, I would have the same mindset. What I think he does, and I don't know if this has been talked about again, I don't read anything, so I don't even know if this is out there. I assume it is, because it's so obvious. He goes on other people's albums, and he's trying to steal those fans. Like, when I listen to how he does it, I'm like, I get that. I swear to God, I go to every conference, and I'm trying to make anybody that came there for somebody else question that person. I want them to be like, damn, I came here.
Because they're laughing. Explain that though.
Explain. Okay. I go to every conference and I go, look, this is a conference. There's this fancy person. There's Warren Buffett. There's Tony Robbins. There's Eric Thomas.
Absolutely.
I'm sure a lot of people can. I'm not the only person, but I'm gonna go on stage and I'm gonna make every single person leave saying, I don't like Warren Buffett anymore. I like Gary Vee. Like, I'm trying to go. And by the way, that's not by having bravado. That's not cursing. That's, I'm gonna provide so much stream of value, so hard, so long, that they're gonna be tired when I'm done. Bring value.
And that's why you know who Gary Vee is. Like, for real, and you guys gotta hear that, because a lot of you that I study, who study in Gary Vee, this is why I laugh, Gary. There are people who look up to you who don't do what you do.
You mean everybody? You mean everybody? Like, do you know how many people tweet, hustle, and work 6 hours a day? Like, I know.
Serious.
I know.
I'm serious. Somebody very close to me today asked me about my schedule, and I told them the schedule, and then they asked me, well, why are you up so early?
Yeah, let's move to the next question before I get angry.
Thank you.
By the way, real quick, I got angry. If you ever say to somebody else, why are you up so early? That is the quickest tell to you are not a winning player. If that has ever crossed your mind, you've lost. Go ahead.
IKE asks, as a rapper, what are the best marketing tips to implement? Should I treat music like an entrepreneur would his product?
I would just say exactly what Gary said before. Just add value. Think about a specific group of people, because you can't reach everybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being real. I don't care how good you are at what you do. You pick your poison, you pick a group, and you just pour into that group, so that every time they listen to you, like Gary said, like I'm just be honest. Like I'm like Gary, I don't listen to anything, I don't read anything. But I got hooked on this Beyonce song. I was here, and I've been listening to that song this morning. I was listening to it. It's like I can't put it down, and it's not because it's Beyonce. Like, no disrespect, but it's not because of what you think. But when I hear the song, I was here. So I'm waking up this morning like, even you hit the Gary Vee show, you gotta be present. Like, not just there, you gotta be present, because you may only get to do this one more time. So I'm listening to her song, and I felt like she wrote it for E.T. So if you're gonna
we should find out. We should activate everybody. Let's find out if B wrote it for you. You think she did?
I believe she wrote it.
Listen, I think way too many people, I'll give you my advice. I think you need to make pretend, not make pretend, let me rephrase, you haven't made it. I don't think this was J. Cole asking the question, right? So you haven't made it, so stop being fancy. I am stunned by the fanciness in the market of speakers, authors, entrepreneurs, athletes, and definitely rappers, because I got a ton of them. You're trying to be big time. You think acting like it is that. You know how you promote music? Make one person every day like your music. You know how you do that? By liking them first. By literally going to Twitter. I'll give you something real tangible. Twitter.com.
Somebody love this.
I love it. Twitter.com/search. Twitter.com/search. Go search people. You got your opinion of who you are as a rapper. Go search people talking about, Future. You think that's your style. Jump in and say, yeah, I like that track too. Yes, I love that hook. When E.T. tweets that Beyonce spoke to me, jump in and be like, yeah, that part. Like, become part of the community. Everybody wants everybody to love them. Love the community first, then they'll love you back. Guilt them into loving you.
Oh, that's so, Look, guys, that first video, for real, you'll be shocked at the millions of people. That one video has 38 million views. And you'll be shocked that I did not do that on purpose. You'd be shocked that I just, what Gary Vee just said, I poured into that community for about 18 years, and then boom, all of a sudden one day, that seed blossomed into a tree. Like 18 years.
Doing the right thing is always the right
years.
answer.
So I'm also saying to whoever you are, don't do what Gary is saying and think that 6 months you're gonna see the results, or a year, just because he told you that and you did what he told you to do. And 6 months later, well, I know.
How do you think about patience?
I mean, it's life. It's everything.
I'm a big pusher of patience.
Yeah, I just said because you don't know the result. You can only work the process. You don't know when the prize is.
Do you know what I'm most fascinated about? Everybody there right now, how many people gave up a month before it was gonna happen? Like I'm worried that what happens when you die and you like go talk to God, God's like, yo, listen, I gotta show you something. You gave up on March 19th, 1994, it was gonna happen on April 7th, 1994, and you're like, what? Like I'm fascinated by lack of patience. All right, let's move on.
Jacob Brown asks, as a PhD, what percentage would you contribute of where you are today to your degree?
Absolutely zero. I didn't get the PhD for success. I got the PhD for the patience. I got the PhD for the process.
When did you get your PhD?
Last year, May.
Did you think you know what? This is a real good opportunity. On a real serious kick, I think what makes this show good is I'm super not scared. Talk me through the PhD. Did you feel that was a smart strategic thing to create a little more air cover so that you had more room to do your thing?
So for real. No, for me, Gary, I was trying to, and when I first walked in, you talked about business.
Yep.
Right, and I told you I build people.
Yes.
But building people doesn't always pay well.
I understand.
Right? So I had to put myself in a different market.
I understand.
Than what I originally wanted to be when I started, right? But what happens when you're from Detroit, like I am, one of the most segregated cities in the United States of America, I did not have the code, the language, or the rules to get in the game that I wanted to play in.
That's right.
So for me, Michigan State gave me that opportunity to go to class and hear that language, to get in an environment for 6 years and be a part of the rules. So you can't play the game if you don't know the game. So the degree to me was about, it doesn't make Detroit bad, it doesn't make my community bad, but there's some things I need to operate on this level.
It's interesting that you even went there. I'm so fascinated that you said that. I'm fascinated that in your mind, it processed that this thing could be a counter move to making that thing look bad. It's an actually massive insight that people grossly underestimate. It's a thing that I grew up with in a different way. You know, I came to this country because Jews were persecuted in the Soviet Union. Like my parents and grandparents grew up in an environment where they were blamed for the World War. My grandparents, both my grandfathers went to jail for being Jewish. And I think that people don't understand that being a minority somewhere, Jewish in Europe, African American in America, there's a psyche that people understand, which is you hear us white guys here selling out, you know, Uncle Tom getting away from you. It's so much deeper than you think. And let me tell you where I'm going with it. I'm actually going a very left turn on this. Most of you are so molded by your parents, you can't even wrap your head around it. And there are certain things your parents put in you that you are scared to break against because you don't want to let them down, even though you may hate your parents or what have you. It's unbelievable to me that you went there, that the success of PhD had to be hedged in your mind, through your words, that that's not bad on Detroit. That to me is such an insight that we need to have a conversation in general about people understanding that having something good happen doesn't trigger a negative event somewhere else, and that is something we're all dealing with in our own versions.
And so for me, it was like, if you can't, there's certain arenas you can't operate on if you don't know it. Like you can't play football if you don't. Like here's the thing I hate. Okay, so what I do for a living, I hate Gary that a guy thinks he's gonna do what I've done for 20-something years. He's gonna watch my videos, he's gonna do it for 5 months, 5 years, and boom, he's the next ET.
Wait a minute, ET, just because you mean you can't register 7-figure mastermind Instagram account and become that? Yeah.
I mean, it's real. So I'm saying
The realist.
I realize that, E.T., you have what you think is success, but you get that PhD, you're going to understand. Like, it's like another language, Gary. It's like another language, like another world.
You like being a student?
I love it.
That, that's
not reading, but I love being a student.
Yeah, it was interesting. I don't like the reading. No. It's interesting. Huh. I like that. Okay. What was the question?
As a PhD, what percentage?
Got it.
Okay, zero.
Okay, good. Zero.
Yeah.
Video question.
What up? It's your boy Zane coming from Sydney, Australia, and welcome to the show, E.T. I believe this is a huge issue for a lot of people in life, and my question is, where does motivation stop and execution begin? I want to take this opportunity to thank you both for being huge influences in my life, and I can proudly say that I wouldn't be the man I am today if it wasn't for you two.
That's very nice. Z Squared, I will tell you that the amount of people that come in and write notes all day, little notebooks of motivation, spend ungodly amounts of hours, the amount of hours that we've spent watching each other's stuff, I don't want to speak for you, my gut is zero. 0 full hours.
He said it.
It's just like I don't know, but here's what I can tell you. Some people need to be motivated. For me, I didn't. I got a chip on my shoulder, and that thing will drive me into the dam in the ground. I'm so motivated, it's coming out of my face, right? So I don't need that. So I can't speak for everybody. Everybody's got different versions. But here's what I can tell you. There's a sign in here that is driving everybody crazy. It's been brought up like 4 times last week. It says ideas are shit. This hangs in our office, and it's driving people crazy. And the reason I don't finish my statement in that sign is I want people to think, because the sign actually reads, if it was in its full entirety, ideas are shit until you execute them. Where does motivation stop and start? Everybody's got a different answer, but here's what I can tell you. It's really easy to be motivated. Either you've got it, or you can watch it. It's really hard to execute. It is the variable that separates people. People are always gonna tell me, every day I roll up on people, they're like, yo, I'm gonna buy the Seahawks and you're gonna buy the Jets. And I'm like, great, can't wait to see you. People are always telling me that they're gonna do this and that and this and that. And you know what I do? I don't know if you do this. I ask lots of them to email me in 60 days, in 90 days, in a year. And you know how many do? Goose egg. People talk shit. And I don't know where it stops or starts, but I know that most of you, 99% of you, aren't gonna do anything about it, and that sucks.
I'm with Gary. Inhale, exhale. It's like asking me which one is which. I don't know which one is which. You inhale, you exhale. I don't know which one is first, which one is second. But if you're not executing, you're not motivation. Like, I don't know what that other stuff is you're doing. But real motivation, I don't know which one comes first, but it makes you do something. Like, if you're not doing anything, you're not really motivated.
Do you think it's a little bit Star Wars like? I just went somewhere weird. I'm sitting here like, you know, the truth is, don't you think motivation comes a little bit from a little bit of darkness? Like this is my point. You know, this is fun to do this in this room. I was talking to a bunch of female entrepreneurs the other day and some leaders in my company. There's a lot of mixed genders in here. You know, and again, I'm so scared to go here because I understand where I'm going. I don't know. I think being a minority, being an underdog is an advantage. I can't not believe that. I genuinely believe. I'm making this for my son, Xander. I think you're soft. I think you're watching this right now 6 years from now. I think you're gonna text me in a few minutes and be like, yo, I'm gonna kill you, which I hope, because I hope you have that in you. But the truth is, I just believe that Andy's in a disadvantage. I just genuinely believe that. I don't know how else to say it. Now, that's me, by the way, that's me stereotyping. If Andy's lucky to be motivated, something bad happened. He had I don't know his dynamic with his brother, but like, I think being a younger brother is a great one, right? Like, show me a kid who walks in here and says, I'm like, what's your story? Well, I grew up super rich and white, and it's awesome. I'm like, keep going. They're like, well, my older brother was a star football player, and I wasn't. I'm like, okay, now, like, I started, like, I'm like, show me something. I think a lot of you are not motivated because you're lucky. Yeah. And what I mean by that is, you're lucky in different ways. You haven't dealt with adversity that much. And by the way, it's not a black, white thing, girl, boy thing. It's, you just had great parents, you had a good upbringing. Like, life just didn't give you that much adversity. And so, I don't know, I want to slice throats. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like, my stuff is super evil. Like, I'm being really honest with you guys today. I go to the conference, everybody's in the green room, friends. I'm like, I'm gonna slice your throat. Like, you're gonna go up there and people are gonna clap. I'm gonna go up there and people are gonna hate you after. And be like, why did people clap for the guy before me? That's what's going through my mind. It's just not a nice thing. Do you know why people hate that when I have guests on? It just happened right now. I interrupt.
Oh, you're supposed to, Gary.
I can't help it.
Yeah, you ready to go? I was just gonna say, for me, everybody's like, man, wait, you're so engaged with your daughter. It's because my father wasn't there. I'm not a good father. I just didn't have my father. So every day I wake up, that drives me. I'm not gonna be him. Every time I get on the mic, it's like my people didn't take it. All of us talk, nobody take it back. So I'm taking it back. So I'm with you. It's the dark side. It's the I ate out of trash can. I told the kids yesterday with the NBA, I said, look, everybody can get, but can you eat? So for me, I say, I'm not into money. I just don't want to go back to being homeless. I don't want to eat out of trash cans again. I don't want to sleep in abandoned buildings. So it's the darkness in me that gets me up and drives me.
I genuinely believe the worst thing in life is to be somewhere, grow, and then go backwards. Now, I'm weird because I'm also weirdly romantic to it. Like that Rocky where he loses everything and he's back. There's a part of me that's always like, ooh, if I lose everything, but then I'll rise back, and then I'll realize who my real friends were. Andy will not want to be my friend anymore. Good. When I rise back up, I'll be like, fuck you. Like, you know, like, I know it. You think so?
I think so.
All right, let's go to the next one.
You owe me.
Aaron Perez asks, en route to self-awareness, do you believe we find ourselves or create ourselves?
Well, that's a deep question. How self-aware do you think you are, if I ask you that?
Very.
Me too.
Very.
Who thinks more self-aware, me or you?
Me.
You know what I feel. You know what I feel.
I think it's you.
Of course. I feel like I genuinely think I'm the most self-aware person on earth.
Right. I don't know, Gary. I'm waking up.
But do you feel? I'm texting you at 2:53 tomorrow morning, and I haven't even gotten to sleep yet. So.
Well, I did go to sleep.
So that's a really nice question. What do you think?
Yeah, no. I believe that, you know, in our book we just came out with Average Skill Phenomenal Will.
Is that your first book?
Third book.
How are you in book world? You good at it?
Yeah, we're good at it.
We're very good.
Very good at it.
Well, how good? What do you mean underground? There's like a whole garage.
Garage.
Real self-published from the garage. Like what? Like open up the trunk and selling it from the back?
Absolutely.
Love it.
They don't lie.
Yeah, I know, I'm kidding.
So no, but our first.
Have you ever considered going main publishing?
We have. We didn't like the numbers. I'll be honest. When we started out, we had such a big following that wanted to support us like off the bat. Like we'll buy it as soon as it comes out at $25.99.
Yeah.
That we went.
You're like, why go share it with other people?
You're right. They were like, okay, $4 a book. We were like, yeah, no, we're good. We're gonna keep it.
Yeah, totally understand.
So for us, in our third book, Average Skill, Phenomenal Will, Underdog, we believe that you don't have to have a phenomenal skill, but if you have a phenomenal will, you're not gonna quit. You're not gonna stop. You'll be successful. The very first chapter is what I think. I'm more serious about it. The very first chapter is self-awareness. Very first chapter.
Really? Because you know what's funny about my book? Talking about who's more serious? I put self-awareness in my motherfucking title. I put it in my title. You got chapters, I got titles. You got chapters, I got titles. You know, I think that's a really interesting question. I think that's one that we'll never really fully figure out. I'm always wondering, was this my destiny or did I mentally create it? I think it's a very fine line. I definitely think there's elements of both. And I'm a big believer in momentum. I'm sure as you started feeling it, and it, you know, momentum is real. You know what? I do think a lot of things, like I think about sports, and you see that athlete who matured a little bit late, right? And had a big second year. And then all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, like, you know what's funny? I started a sports agency called Vayner Sports. We just started. We're recruiting kids. And I'm talking to these kids. I'm like, when did you think that you could be a pro, right? They're like juniors right now, seniors about to come out. And a lot of them are like, after this one game my sophomore year. Wow. Like multiple people said it.
After one game.
Or after one big game, right? Or when my homie went to the league and I was dogging him in practice. I'm like, wait a minute, Jerome's going to the league? Like, you know, like it's super. Yeah. But what's interesting, what I'm trying to make the connection is when they said that, when they made the decision that they could go into the league, everything changed. They worked out more. They played better. They ate better. They went down to 1 girlfriend instead of 7. My one man, I was dying when he said that. But it's funny, it was the mental decision that created their action. I got my health together 2 years ago. It was a mental game. Then I got there, now I'm there. It's very mental. I don't think we talk about the brain enough in our society, and I think that's gonna be a big subject that we'll discover. I think people look back at some of the things we talk about, and others, 100 years from now, be like, wow, they were early on to understanding how much the brain could do versus all the other intangibles.
Absolutely.
All right, ET, you get to ask the question of the day. Any question you want.
Who do I ask?
The Vayner Nation and all your fans. You get to ask a question, and in the YouTube comments and Facebook comments, people will answer it. What's the one, you're gonna get 1,000 answers. You've got a good sense of where our crossovers are. What question do you want to ask?
I can ask you anything.
Not me, them.
Oh shit, I want to ask Gary.
You can go ahead, ask me, and then think about. Go ahead. You guys answer my question as well. Go ahead.
So the one crossover.
Yeah.
Like, like when you look at basketball,
Yeah.
you got a guy that's just dribbling,
Yep.
and then one day he crosses over
Yeah.
and saying he feels like this is mine.
Yes.
This is mine. What was your crossover for you? What was that? Like you knew.
My first baseball card show. I'm so glad you asked this. It's not something we've ever really expanded on. I maybe told it once. I'm curious if you guys even know it. My first baseball card show was in 8th grade, and the Phillipsburg Mall had a baseball card show. And I'm like, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna do my baseball card show. And I went on Friday after school. It was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday show, but I was still in school, so I couldn't do the Friday, but I wanted to get a table for Saturday and Sunday. And I go Friday to the promoter, and this big fat guy comes out, like 400-pound guy, right? Looked like Avalanche from WWF, like big guy, like tugboat, like big guy. And I go, are you the promoter? He goes, yeah. I go, can me and my friends get a table for the show? He goes, the show started. I'm like, no, for Saturday and Sunday. It's like real combative. I'm like, oh, I'm like 4'7", like 84 pounds, and I'm like, no, we want a table. And on the drive there, this is the punchline. On the drive there, we made a pact, like all hands in. If it's $100 or less, we'll do it. And if it's more, we're not doing it. Super packed, blood brothers, like this is what we're gonna do. We get there, this man goes, sure, it's $300. And then before he said dollars, I said, we'll take it. So we shake hands, we walk out of the mall, and they're just looking at me like, and I was like, $300 was like, I'm like, we'll do it. I was nervous, this and that. First, we get in Saturday morning, 7 a.m., donuts, the mall's not open yet, we're setting up, we're excited. I'm like, no, I can speak in front of 8 million people, I'm not gonna feel that energy like I felt there was my first, And I walked that whole mall, I walked it, I looked at everybody's tables, I memorized everybody's prices on every card. I came back to my table, and I lowered every one of my prices $1 cheaper than the lowest price across the whole show on every single card. And then I hustled, and by midday, by like 12, 1 o'clock, we were there for 4 hours, the mall was open, we'd already made all our money back and more. The night before, my dad, who never talked to me ever, he just worked. Me and my dad had no relationship. My dad came up to me, I told my mom I was nervous and like, holy shit. My dad came up to me, and I love my pops for this, he just said, it's gonna be a great learning experience. I didn't understand. I was like, what does it mean, it's stupid, Anyway, that was it. That night I went to sleep, and I was in 8th grade.
I've been looking all around, trying to figure out what the hell really counts. When everything feels like it's filling up with doubt, thoughts heading south and no one can hear me shout. And the voices in my head so loud, coming for the storm like a Seattle cloud. The sky's so gray, trying to figure it out, why I'm so down in the sunlight drought. Yeah, memories coming back to me of a simpler time when I was young and free, playing games with the kids lived next to me. Didn't care about time or anything, yeah. But things changed, turned 23. Had to figure out what the hell was next to me. Do I do the safe thing, something guaranteed, or do I do what I love till my fingers bleed? It'll all be okay, figure out my own way. But for now here I lay and remember a day when I was young. When I was young, yeah. Smokestacks cause it's cold outside, fire burning from the other night. I can smell the coals on my soul, it makes me feel something deep inside. Memories of a better life, memories where I felt alive. And these times you could choose to survive, and these times you could choose to thrive. And I wanna make some, take control of my life and display some. Show the world what I love and go play some. Show the world what I love on a stage strumming. And I wanna make y'all feel the same. And I wanna take away all the pain, at least for a minute while I play. I wanna make you feel okay. I'll be okay, figure out my own way. But for now here I lay and remember a day when I was young. a hit to the soul and move on. I know that everything I do is wrong, yeah. You don't know shit about me, you don't know shit about me. Nah, I'm falling down on my knees, look in the heavens I see. Your eyes are coated from feelings too strong. My legs are weak from always moving on. You come back hard in my mind every song. We used to sing but now I sing alone. I feel like shit, wish you were gone. I cannot quit, just move along. My mind is stuck, you don't belong, you don't belong. Ooh, oh, oh.
Your lips turn blue. These lies hold truth, and I'll be fine without you. Without you. Without you. Without you.
Hard times full of regret. You lied under every breath. I'm fine, I just need to forget. Bottle full, light a new cigarette. Lightheaded, I'm infected with thoughts of you injected, like heroin addicted. Two things inside my head, and your eyes, they pierce your veil. I try but always fail. My mind not strong of will, and still I hope to one day move on. Know you already moved on, and as I write this cold song, I know that you won't hold on.
Your lips turn blue. These lies hold truth, and I'll be fine without you.
That's enough, I'm broken, done with emotion. Had enough, I'm swollen from all that you've stolen. It's over, I'm broken, done with emotion. It's over, I'm broken, it's over, I'm broken.
These lies hold truth, and I'll be fine without you.
And it's my life, so I'll do what I want to, and I'll get what I want to. Whoa, cause it's my life, and I'll get high if I want to. I'll live my life how I want to. Whoa, yeah, let's go, yeah. Yeah, got my life in my hands. I've been running all around, but I ain't got any plans. All the homies cruise around and we just packed in a van, hitting every single town where we know all of the fans. Whoa girl, what you running from now? I could tell that she was looking for a hell of a time. I just wanna take her back now. I just wanna take her back now. Whoa, oh, oh. And she got those moves that everybody wanna see, and she like that groove and got me begging, baby, please, it's just me and you. I like this view, okay, okay, okay. Oh, I don't wanna wait for a good time, so I'm gonna make us a good time. We could I've been living my life on the west side. I'ma ride till I die, getting so high. Up in the sky, blue eyes match the blue tide. I can feel the butterflies on the inside, and we keep doing some more. Her favorite drink that I pour, Cali got me so bored. I'm finna head out on tour, and we don't roll through the 6, we roll through 9 in the whip. The weather looking so big, I'm about to get off the grid. Yeah, yeah, she be by my side every time I wanna run away. And I live my best life pouring up on a Sunday. Yeah, she be by my side every time I wanna run away. And I live my best life pouring up on a Sunday. And I could feel her hands slide like the synth glide. Always been by my side through the rough times. Now I'm living hella right, Hollywood's nice. Took a roll of the dice, didn't think twice. Yeah, I got it alright. Yeah, I'll be lit up by the end of the night. Every day's a celebration if you're doing it right. I ain't never going back, heading straight towards the light. Yeah, yeah, she be by my side every time I wanna run away. And I live my best life pouring up on a Sunday. Yeah, she be by my side every time I wanna run away. And I live my best life pouring up on a Sunday. I'm alright, yeah. Living in the shadows in the night, yeah. Always searching, looking for the light, yeah. Anything to understand this life, yeah. Need someone who could hold me down, yeah, yeah.
Deep, and I was in 8th grade, and I'd already been punting school since 4th or 5th grade, but that night I went to sleep and I said, I'm gonna be great. That was it. And I've never wavered since. So that's me. What's your story? What's your crossover moment? You keep asking questions, we'll keep answering them. On this episode, India turns into dunk. The Ask Gary V show. Because I did Wine Library TV last, I don't remember the intro.
Everybody's Gary Vay, nerd chuck.
Everybody, this is Gary Vay, Nerd Chuck, and this is episode 224 of the Ask Gary V show. I got it. Jesus. Ready? Yeah. Hey everybody, this is Gary Vay, Nerd Chuck, and this is episode 224 of the Ask Gary V show. I want you to keep that little thing we just did right before this show. That's right. I am that rusty that I couldn't even remember how to intro this show. We've been on a major hiatus. In general, I feel like when we made the switch from DeMayo to Tyler on the assistant front, Tyler hasn't prioritized the show as much as we've needed Dunk. So hopefully we'll get back into a great rhythm. Maybe this is the 3rd or 4th show in the new office. That makes me happy. And India has transformed into a good-looking young Swedish boy.
Yep.
Dunk, tell them who you are real quick.
Vayner Nation, my name is Elliot Robinson, otherwise known as Dunk. I'm 18 years old, I'm from Sweden, and I'm your co-host for the Ask Gary V show today.
Very cool. Dunk and I interacted on Snapchat and Instagram where he did some great work under his Dunk account. I met him for 5 minutes. He flew from Sweden to London when I was there. I sat with him for 5-10 minutes and I said, I need this kid to work with me in the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
And that was even before that I knew that you didn't need all sorts of legal papers. That's how committed I was. I was like, whatever these overheads are, I'm gonna cover them because I believe in you so much. And by the way, he has made an impact. Even AJ, who's really tough. I'm very optimistic. I think everybody's really talented. AJ's like, what's up with this Dunk kid? I'm like, all right, Vayner Sports, relax. All right, let's do it, Dunk. Now, listen, for all the great things that you bring, I do not think you're going to do this well. I have a feeling that you're not going to do a good job, but let's see how it plays out.
Let's see, I think I'm charismatic.
Right.
Let's see.
I know you're charismatic.
First question.
Yes.
My friend and I are both digital marketers with very credible experience at
Well, you already screwed up. You're supposed to say the person's name.
And it says anonymous, that's why.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, keep going.
My friend and I recently started working for an app startup. The person who manages digital marketing is inexperienced and, in our opinion, stunting potential growth. We are looking for an opportunity to show our talent to execs without overstepping our boundaries? How can we show that we are better for the role to the execs?
I feel like this is actually your question and you don't believe in Andy, and that this is not real. This is more you projecting your opinions about what's going on here.
And that's why it's not.
Yeah, listen, I think much like what goes on here, and this is why it's funny, and this is for the whole team, I think we've got a good situation, so many of you don't. My advice here is what I do think we create more of. You know what's funny? I create a company where you can start hacking and doing things, you know that you can do that, but it's your own trying to be nice to whomever that may hurt that's supposed to be doing it that holds it back. So this is a really fascinating thing at VaynerMedia. I've created a world where I never want people to not show. If you can show it, you know, then you can do it, then just do it, show that person. Now, the tough part of that advice is, let me give you a great scenario. In this exact scenario, where there's a lot of people on my team that are talented and everybody's got different roles, and a lot of people are mishmashed into different responsibilities, some that aren't even their best skill set versus other things that other people are doing, they start liking each other. Like my team, I mean, they don't all have to be the best of bestest friends, but you guys genuinely like each other, and so what's really holding it back is not hurting that other person's feelings of why are you going into my territory. It's very complicated. I mean, look, here's the best part of this. This is much like life. It's just a black and white answer. Either you step and run through the China shop and show your skills and take the risk of saying here, and by the way, there's a good way and a bad way to do it. My real answer would be to go to the person that is doing that role and saying, I really believe in myself in this craft. I know this is your role. I know I'm in accounting and you're the creative director, but can you help me show you, or give me the air cover to show Gary that I can do this? Because here's how it's gonna play out. Either that's what's gonna happen, or I'm gonna quit and leave here and go do it somewhere else, and I want us to be teammates, not adversaries. Now, 8. This is a big number. 8 out of 10 times, that person is gonna try to hold down the other person out of insecurity, fear, all these things. But you might get lucky and it might be one of those 2 out of 10 times. That's my favorite way to do it, because I think that's the only middle step to the black and white thing, which is, to answer the question, show somebody.
Yeah.
Like edit an episode of Daily V and be like, told you other time, I'm better than you. Like just do it. Or don't and be miserable and let a little kernel of negativity eventually become cancer, and it's gonna end up with you underperforming, getting fired, or you quitting. Like that's the punchline of all of this. All the things I talk about to not suppress are predicated on the outcome's gonna be the outcome anyway. So why not just speed it up? But with humility. So like I get away with a lot of stuff because I get to the punchline, but I coat it with as much honey and humility so that it becomes swallowable. Consumable would have been a better way to go.
Next video question from Jan.
Jan.
I want to ask, because you don't do it often, but from time to time you mention China, WeChat, the other internet, and stuff like that. So do you actually spend time on studying these things, how they work, how they are different? And if so, what do you focus on? And have you learned something already that you are applying in your business or that you are sharing with the clients in the US and all around the world? So thank you very much for the grind. Thank you very much for answering my question, and have a great day. Bye.
Jan, great question, and I'm really dying to see if you guys, I feel like you guys are being very smart and asked that question. Something very funny happened 2 days ago? Yesterday, right? Yesterday I sent a team-wide email about this? Was that yesterday or 2 days ago? Yesterday I sent an email to my entire teams and it said, China, it's time. Let's start transcribing my content. It's time to get serious, Jan. So the answer is, the other internet, China, is something I'm very, very passionate and a believer of on a religious level, but I've never gone to church. Meaning, I know it's right, I know it's big, I know the biggest consumer set in the world is there, but you can't get to everything. And much like there's a lot of things I'm not doing well, even within the US, I've not been able to open up that can of worms. VaynerMedia eventually is gonna play in that market. It will have to as we're becoming a global leader. And so, no question, the thing I'm most disappointed about on a micro level in my career over the last 36 months is that I haven't forced myself to spend 4 or 5 separate trips in China, taste it, get used to it, and really articulate a real strategy. Literally, I became so fed up with myself that yesterday I said to the team, it's time for me to become a player in that market. And so, I'm sure that's why the question was asked, or maybe it's just serendipitous, but the answer is no, I have not spent time analyzing the WeChats, Tencent, and the rest of the market, but it is something I better get around to if I have to expand on the aspirations that I have. And I think both VaynerMedia and me as a brand have enormous opportunities within that market. I think we fit the mold on an entrepreneurial level, and so I'm excited about the next frontier.
Cool. Next is a video question from Diogo Silva.
Okay.
Hey Gary, I'm Diogo, I'm from Portugal, and I have a very simple question to ask you. Are you good with names? Are you able to remember every single employer and people you do business with names? And how important is that skill for your business? Thank you, Gary, for answering
I feel like this episode, you know what? I feel like since we haven't had a lot of time, that there's been a whole lot of work. I'm very intrigued by this episode. I am terrible with names. It's devastating. I have so much pride, and I know that people that watch Daily V are probably surprised by how many names I know, but there's so many names I don't know. And I don't know names of like 18 months in clients. And I don't know names of like people that, you know, like, it's unbelievable how much context I know, but names I don't. Meaning, there's employees here that I know like things that are going on with like the well-being of their relationship, because I follow them on social and like follow their boyfriend and then like figure out like, oh, you know, like literally like, and definitely know their performance and remember that they had a bad day or recall this or just deep stuff. But I'm like, is that Karen or is it Susan? Like, it's super tough for me. It's something I'm very bad at, and it is not, it's very important. People like, here's what I think. Tactically, it's important, and people would be disappointed if they've been paying VaynerMedia for 2 years and they're an important client and I don't know their name. I understand that. What overrides that, and while I feel great, is that's the tactic to the thing that matters, which is knowing one's name is one version of caring about that person. I know how much I care, and though I hate that the easiest version of that is not something I have a skill for, it's all the other stuff that I have skills for that make up for that vulnerability, because that is a surface level vulnerability, not a deep vulnerability. And so I think at a macro level, it is stunningly unimportant. What it perceives to mean is the most important thing, but tactically I don't think so. On a micro level, sure, it's important. You like that answer?
Question.
I like this kid.
Ryan.
How is it?
Hey Gary, I'm Ryan. In a video with Joe Polish, you said that you could sell rocks on the street and still make $100 grand a year. Is that true? If so, could you make a video where you sell a rock to someone who doesn't know you? Thanks.
So Ryan, theoretically, it is true. Practically, listen, the truth is, actually, I'm surprised how I'm answering this. I think I can make $100,000 a year selling. Like, I wish I was in a point in my life where I could be so crazy, and right now, off of this, do it. Go with D-Rock to some crazy place where nobody knows who I am, which, oh, by the way, and I love you all for this, which is almost everywhere, like down the street. But, you know, go to a place where I'm not me, and I know that, trust me, you guys perceive me bigger than I am. I'm just me. And I think, now look, here's what I would do. I go to a place. First, I'd go to a rich, upper middle class area where it's not too rich, but upper middle class demo. And I would set up shop on the corner of the street. And I guess most of my day would be, it'd have to have rocks in the general area, like access to rocks, which is everywhere. No, I'll tell you why. I understand, but like, if I'm trying to make 100,000, like, and I can pick anywhere, like, you might as well, if there's a perfect zip code where it's got the right income level that I want and there's access to it, from an efficiency standpoint, I know I can buy them on the internet and all that stuff, but nonetheless, I guess I would try to market myself as somebody who is creative on top of a rock. So I don't think I would, if I was selling a rock, I wouldn't try to sell you a rock because that wouldn't work. But what I would do is I would doodle and create on top of rocks and try to sell them. And I genuinely, with my entire heart, believe that I can make $100,000 a year in year 2 firm. In year 1, I would make $36,000 in profit.
Good. I believe it's possible to sell just a rock.
It is, but I think what I would do, because I'd want to get to 100,000, is the doodling on top would then constitute as art, and that becomes agnostic, and then marketing can take over, and then all I need to do is have Leonardo DiCaprio take a picture on his Instagram that he's bought this rock because it's art, and then it's game over. It's just high school arbitrage. All of it is.
All right, next question is from Betty.
Oh, Betty!
Yep.
Awesome.
So Gary, you're so successful, you run a $100 million revenue company. How do you stay hungry?
Period. Betty, I think that the truth is, I think a lot of us are hardwired. I think because I didn't come from much, because I didn't speak the language, because I wasn't physically large. I actually think that's a dude thing, for sure. And because I think I'm wired to love underdogs, I've always loved them. I think where I've come from, there is no I've ever made it. First of all, I don't like the physical things. That's a huge advantage. So not needing to buy a plane or an $8,000 pair of sneakers, like there's no physical thing I want. Just like the awesome Instagram photo that Tyler you put together, the game. Like I love the process. I'm hungry forever. I'm the hungriest. I'm super hungry. I threw up this morning, and I'm theoretically, physically, I'm not hungry right now because I'm feeling a little woozy. But emotionally, as an entrepreneur, I'm the hungriest. It's incredible. I'm dramatically more successful than I was 10 years ago. I'm more hungry, not less.
Because?
Because I just think it was hardwired from the get. Because I just think it's black and white. I just think at some level, you're just wired the way you are. There is nothing that's gonna fill my appetite because what drives my hunger is the process, not the results. And then by nature, in that construct, it goes forever. The only thing that changes my hunger is if the two other most important variables in this game play themselves out. The health and well-being of my family or the way I feel about the allocation of my time and the depth of that time with my family. Those are the only vulnerabilities. There's no $14 million check or $48 billion check or buying the jets. Like there's nothing that will stop the hunger. When I put my jersey on, when I'm in the context of being a businessman, the hungry vibe will be there forever. It's when I'm Gary as a person where there's other things in my life besides being on the field that could play out, that could get me to be less hungry professionally. But on the field, I'm going to be a psycho through and through forever.
Like it.
That's it. Great. It's a good show. Did a good job, Junk. I like you asking.
Junk?
Listen, I was just proud I said episode clean. I messed it up the last 4 times. I messed it up the last 4 times. Question of the day. Tell me about the end of your summer. I've got a lot of flights coming up, and I feel a little out of touch because we haven't done this in a little while, Vayner Nation. So this will be a good way for me to just get a sense for the 300 to 400 of you that I've really, it's funny. You guys are fans of my work, and I appreciate that. You'd be shocked how much I'm a fan of your feedback to my work, and who mixes it up, and who tries to say rogue stuff on purpose to game the system, and who's totally into it now but fades off, who's always into it, who comes in and out. It's amazing on how much I know about you, even if I don't know your name. You keep asking questions, I'll keep answering them. Podcast listeners, I really appreciate you giving me your ear. I respect it. I appreciate it. Would love a review. 1 star, cool. I didn't bring it. 5 stars, even better. Appreciate it. On this episode, I'm in a salty mood because the Jets lost. The Ask Gary V Show. Hey everybody, this is Gary Vaynerchuk, and this is episode 225 of the Ask Gary V Show. Sid, good to see you. Sid works at VaynerMedia on my team. The Jets lost. I'm not in a good mood by any stretch of the imagination. It was a devastating loss. I'm angry. Thursday we played the Buffalo Bills. We've been struggling with them lately. And if we lose on Thursday, literally in 3 days my season's over of the only thing that I like in life. Sid, what's the first question? Felipe? Prosper.
Hi Gary, here is Prosper from Journey to Real Life here in beautiful Neuchâtel, taking my morning swim after waking up. So my question today is, how would be your approach of creating a more sustainable world with a media company? Thank you for your answer.
Prosper, I think it's an interesting question. I've been thinking a lot actually about this over the last couple months. Impact on world. I get somebody on, whether it was on my team or my family, I'm trying to think who said this to me. I don't think I realized that getting 15 to 25 emails a day in your inbox telling you that you've changed one's life, that I was doing. It's so interesting that people think like giving a $10,000 check to research for a disease or to fix an animal or put up trees is the way to do it. It's unbelievable how much, you were with me when we were just in New York where the guy's like, get a tattoo. And I'm like, that's the easy part. Like not missing a Jets play since '82. I think people are very stuck, Prosper, on tactics over religion. And I talk about that in business all the time. If you've been following me, you've heard that a million times. But it's how I think about a more sustainable world. Meaning, as a media company, as an individual, I think we take a lot of shortcuts. Tweeting something to support something is not making an enormous impact. It can make an impact. You supporting something if 5 of your friends care how you support, or if you're a celebrity and 50 people care, but it is stunning how much more important action is over little words or tactical things. So for me, I think it's a day in, day out thing to deploy to the things that matter, and I think it's a very human game. I think I like depth over width. For me, if I can impact my little circle, and this whole thing, the VaynerNation, VaynerMedia, all of my inner team here, I'm impacting them on an individual basis, and then they go and impact other people. I'm completely confident, because I've watched it many times, that the self-esteem and confidence that I deploy. Andy, do you think that you're a more confident person because you've rolled with me? And do you think that you've maybe deployed that? Other people within your circle? 100%. That's the game. So I think my answer to your question is, as a media company, as anything else, way too many people are looking to reach too many. Go individual. It's what you're doing behind the scenes that is way more important than what you're doing optically for the PR version of how you want to position yourself to the world. Thanks, D-Rock.
Hey, what's up, Gary? My name's Chris. I'm out here today in the fucking pouring rain, making content for my fixed gear blog, the e-commerce shop. My question is, lots of my fans are, let's say, under 18 years of age, don't have credit cards, cannot pay for shit that they want on my website that they express they want. Do I pitch to retail? And if so, are there any special tactics or ways that I should go about that? Thanks.
Chris, if your demo doesn't have credit cards and that's what's stopping you from selling direct to consumer, your answer shouldn't be, how do I go to retail to go to my consumers? Your answer should be, how do I get money from my demo to make my transaction? Meaning, whether it's Venmo or PayPal or virtual currency, there's a much bigger lift, my man. One of the great things about the world today is that all of us entrepreneurs can create a Shopify account or Magento or whatever you want to and go direct to consumer. Do you know how difficult it is to get retail distribution? Do you know how much they're gonna hose you? Do you know that you're gonna make 50 cents in the dollar? Do you know that they're gonna ask you for things like trade dollars, which is if you even want to be in our store, you have to pay us for the right? Do you know that if your product doesn't sell well in the first 30 days, they discontinue it? Do you know that you're gonna spend 94% of your time trying to knock on doors and get into the retail shop instead of actually building your community and building your business? I think that I think at the highest level, so for so many of you, going back to the well instead of fixing the sink, which is an analogy I use a lot, maybe your whole business is broken if you can't get the money from the people that you want to get money from, right? A lot of people try to target, like somebody pitched me like, I'm going to sell to 12 to 14 year olds and they're going to make the decision. That's the worst zone, because that 12 to 14 is exactly when kids are in between, their parents buying them everything, but them not being able to transact. And so I would spend a lot of time trying to figure out what way you can collect money from them, including things like, I've always thought a fun tactic would be, instead of an add to cart button, an alternative button to that audience, which is send an email to your parents to buy it. So, you've add to cart, and but there's also send an email to your parents to buy this for you, and you click it, and it's got like 4 different templates, like the sorry one, the happy one, like what's the angle depending on your parent, with then a transaction link right there. You need to hack how to get the money direct from your consumer, not how to go down the traditional path of retail.
From
Richard.
Hey Gary, my name's Richard. I'm a filmmaker living here in Los Angeles. Recently you connected with Chase Jarvis and you humbly bragged that you were one of the first people to say that Vine is a great place for filmmakers to grow an audience.
Just like if I was a filmmaker or a video person, I'd be very much paying attention to Vine and trying to figure out how to make 6-second micro videos that bring awareness to me, that leads me to gateway you to my YouTube, which lets you to gateway me to hiring me. It's just this evolution of opportunity.
It's now 2016. Is Vine still the best platform? Or is there something different that filmmakers like myself should be looking at? Thanks, Gary. I'll see you in the Jets in week 4.
Yeah, I mean, look, Thanks, Richard. I'm not looking forward to the Seahawks week 4. Though the Seahawks didn't look so good yesterday. Now Russell looks hurt. Might not play next game. But they won a Super Bowl, so it's like over. Richard, obviously Vine had its moment of attention. That's also one of the reasons, one of the fun things about creating video at scale, as I have 3 screens on me right now, it'd be so fun to look at me doing this in 1996, 7, 8, 9, 2000, 2001, email or Google AdWords. There's a lot of predictions that are right. There's also things that were 100% right that get outdated. That attention of that demo on Vine is clearly right now on Instagram stories and Snapchat stories. So I think those 2 places completely dominate. I also think there's some kind of old school places, and here's a funny old school places. I'm a big fan of people getting into some of these Facebook communities, right? These private pages and I, with other filmmakers or Hollywood types or what have you. So Facebook groups, is an interesting little hack. I think it just all work. Look, it's all very basic. I always layer the current state of the market on top of my general thesis, which is where's the attention of the people that you're trying to reach, and then how do you figure out to be creative on it? And so obviously, if everybody's listening to SoundCloud, but you can't be creative in audio, you're not gonna be as successful as you are in creating long-form video. Long-form video of great quality on Vimeo is gonna be a different opportunity for some of the filmmaker characters here than for somebody like me who like, why do you think I've done well? Like, I do well in 30, 70, 90 second, quick thoughts, quick. I don't know if you noticed this Larry King, let's link that up actually right here. This Larry King, actually throw a little box up here showing it. This Larry King interview I did. It's so funny how some of my smartest friends have been hitting me up privately of like how great of a format that is when it's quick and witty and fast. That's what I'm good at. Like, so you gotta find the medium that you're good at. And so if you're a filmmaker, there's the Steven Spielberg filmmaker, and there's the filmmaker that's emerging today that understands how to make it in a Vimeo, in a YouTube, in an Instagram story. I mean, do you know how much storytelling capabilities there are in Snapchat and Instagram stories? There's so much, but who's great at it? And it's a totally different skill set than making a 22-minute sitcom. So the attention is very obvious. It's on Instagram, it's on Snapchat, it's on Facebook. It's there, right? It's on YouTube, it's on Vimeo. But which one of those 5 as a filmmaker can you really play in? And what's the different versions? Because there's a very big difference between making a 41-minute film on Vimeo and making a great 7-minute Instagram story every day on Instagram. Derek.
Hey Gary, Derek from Common Man Cocktails. I have some people telling me that producing YouTube videos 3 times a day is too much content and you'll create more views by having content produced less, like once or twice a week. Do you think that anticipation really breeds additional views? Should I slow down my production?
Derek, I think there's some truth to that. I think about the amount of content we put out. I also just think it comes down to how good you are. Derek, there's some people that should make 0 videos in their entire life. I mean, it just comes down to your skill set, right? So do I think having a scheduled time, not filling up people's feeds, are there some tried and true things that YouTube knows from a big data standpoint? Yes, I do. And actually, I think we break them a lot of times because I just want to. And so I don't follow every best practice because, I don't know, I just don't. And I don't want to. I'm like, I don't know what else to tell you. I just want to pump out a lot of content because I don't think of it just as a show. I think it as archived content. I think in a 40-year term, not in a 4-month term. I'll be very honest with you. I'm not worried that I have 300,000 or so subscribers and I should have 1 million. I just don't care. There's just a lot of people that have 4 million subscribers on YouTube that are not as happy or successful as I am. That is not the metric. I think a lot of people get caught up in just the numbers. And so Derek, first and foremost, brother, I would tell you that you should do what makes you the most happy. Now, if you're trying to make money, and it's easier for me as I make money and I'm achieving what I need as oxygen to do my thing. If you need the dollars, following the best practices is a good idea. I just think it comes down to you as a person. I think there's art and I think there's science. I think there's business people and there's artists. And you have to figure out what your mix is. If you're an artist and you get excited about making 3 pieces of content a day, well then that's good. If you're a business person and you need that show to build up subscribers so you can sell sponsorship to alcohol brands, you may want to try a period of time of best practices. I'm in a really bad mood.
Hi Gary and team, my name is Jenny A. Hansen and I'm coming at you from Utah. And my question is, do you go with your passion or do you go with what you're good at? I've been doing nails for 12 years, my grandmother did nails, my aunt did nails, and there aren't any decent nail salons in my area. So do I open a nail salon or do I go with my passion, which is more in consulting, which consulting salons would be good. But again, there aren't any good nail salons in the area. So what are your thoughts? Thanks for the show, thanks for your work. Thanks, VaynerMedia. Bye.
Jenny, thanks so much for the question. Look, I mean, I'm a big fan, Jenny, and I think you know this, of practicality. Awfully hard, Jenny, to consult for nail salons where there are none, or there are none that are good enough that would actually pay a consultant. So I think your options are you can move and go to LA, New York, Philly, places where there are more, or you open a salon. You're a young lady, so I think you have time and a long career. Maybe you open up one for a little while, build up some dollars, some equity. It's easy for me to say go move. Maybe you've lived in Utah your whole life, your whole family's there, everybody's there, you've got to be there. You can consult virtually. It is 2016. Technology has caught up. Look, I think, I wrote a book in 2009 called Crush It, and it became successful, and it started a huge debate in my ecosystem of passion over skills. I don't think anybody can answer that question for any of you watching right now. Really, I don't. I think what you need to do is deploy as much self-awareness as possible. I do believe, that's why I wrote Crush It, it's why I'm thinking about writing a follow-up to Crush It right now. I do believe that there's nothing greater than being able to do the thing you are most passionate about. And I think that if you're blessed and you're able to make the most money that way, and I actually think I'm in that category, well then that's like nirvana. But I do think that a lot of people should consider, I am of the camp, and you know what, that's the question of the day. Where do you sit in this camp? In the comments, let's sit on this one. Where do you sit in this camp? Here's my theory, that if you make $130,000 a year doing something you don't love as much, or at all, versus making 89 and loving it, that you should always go with B. Now, people could say, that's easy for you to say, because I have student loans, because I have all these other headaches. I have a weird thesis that that 89, because you're so happy and you're willing to work 18 hours a day, becomes 131 over time, and 130 becomes fired or flat forever. I really do believe that passion works out that way, and I'm not a secret. I'm not Oprah. I'm not like Sunshine and Rainbow, especially not after the fucking Jets miss an extra point and lose by 1 point. I just think it's practical. I just think being happy brings a better energy and a work ethic. Listen, I don't know if you've heard, I believe in work. And I believe the easiest way to work is to fucking love it. And so, you know, I think, Jenny, you should go with your passion. I just don't think that it's practical for everybody. I think a lot of people's passion is to become the biggest rapper in the world. I think a lot of people's passion is to become a supermodel. I think a lot of people's passion is to become a professional athlete or the next great director or this and that. I think people are completely tone deaf to their actual skill sets, and they make up ludicrous, unachievable goals, which then means the blueprint is broken from the get, which means they have no shot at victory. So I think if your passion is to be the greatest rapper in the world, you should deploy some self-awareness around maybe your passion should be being around the greatest rappers in the world if you have no flow, you know? So anyway, I don't know, I think there's a lot of things, Jenny. I think self-awareness, I think recognizing you only live once, realizing how much regret is poison, and just really, Jenny, I'll give you a really good answer. Try your passion. I'll give everybody a good answer. Try your passion for 2 years. What's gonna happen? Your debt's gonna compound? It's not the end of the world. I mean, you can always get practical. You can always get practical. That's it? Good. I asked a question. Jets lost. You keep asking questions, I keep answering them. Podcast listeners, I really appreciate you giving me your ear. I respect it. I appreciate it. Would love a review. 1 star, cool. I didn't bring it. 5 stars, even better. Appreciate it. On this episode, Simon Sinek stops by. That was kind of cool, actually. The Ask Gary V Show. Hey everybody, this is Gary V, Nerdchuck, and this is episode 226 of the Ask Gary V Show. I'm excited. I have a guest. I actually have a pretty serious focus on the 4th quarter here of not doing too many guests, getting back to kind of the classic version. Even India is here, so we're going very classic on the show. But I couldn't resist. Simon and I got some drinks together, catching up, and I thought it would be fun to have you on the show. So many of the people that watch this are huge fans of yours.
Thank you.
Many, you know, as these worlds work, many will be discovering you for the first time, which excites me. I'm excited to get that email, you know, 9 months from now saying thank you so much for introducing me to Simon. So there's a lot of selfish wants and needs here in this episode. But Simon's a friend and somebody who I really enjoy spending time with, even though we're both so busy that it happens infrequently. But to the percentage of the audience that doesn't know who you are, why don't you give them a quick little spiel, and then we'll answer some questions, my friend.
Sure. My name is Simon Sinek, and I have a clear vision of what I want to build in this world. I imagine a world in which the vast majority of people wake up every single morning inspired to go to work, feel safe when they're there, and return home fulfilled at the end of the day. And everything I do, whether it's writing, speaking, teaching, whatever it is devoted to helping to build that world.
And have you always had that for yourself?
Past decade.
And before then?
I would say my career before then was...
What did you do before then?
I had a marketing consultancy.
Got it. Yeah,
I enjoyed myself. I had passion for what I did, but I meandered.
Yeah.
I would say that, you know, I think my goals and my visions were very much about me and about the business. I want to build this kind of business. I want to make this kind of money.
Yep.
And that hasn't been for the past decade.
And so, me knowing a little bit more and adding a little more color for the group, you speak, you've written books, you had a breakout speech at the highest of levels. You want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
I think that
so a long time ago, I did 2009. As long as ago as that.
There's some older people that watch this.
Right.
2009 I wouldn't consider so fucking long ago.
Well, I think in the social media world,
Guys,
it's a long time ago.
Long time ago. 7 years.
I gave a TEDx talk in Puget Sound, Seattle, and it's gained some popularity on YouTube. And the folks at TED.com, TED decided to put it on TED.com, and it went crazy. It went crazy. And
when did it go crazy? When did that?
It happened.
You did it in 09.
I did it at the end of 09, and they put it on TED.com in May of 2010.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, like it just seems like a lot of people have. How many views did that get?
Last time I checked, it's about 27 or 28 million.
Yeah, monster. Andy, you're slacking over there. I don't have any 28 million.
Look, I won the internet lottery. I mean, you know, I got lucky. I got lucky.
And for one more time, for the people that are learning about you, real quick on what was the general thesis of that?
So I shared as a talk and a theory that I continue to espouse that I based on an idea I call the golden circle. Basically, every single organization on the planet, every single one of us knows what we do. The things we sell, the services we offer. Some of us know how we do it. It's the things that we think make us stand out or differentiate us from the world outside. But very, very few of us can clearly articulate why we do what we do. And if you look at the greatest leaders, everybody from Martin Luther King to Steve Jobs, those with the capacity to inspire action and those around them, every single one of them, regardless of their industry, thinks, acts, and communicates starting with why.
Yep.
Most of us talk about what we do, and we try and tell people how we're better. But these guys talk about their vision, they talk about their cause, they talk about where they're going, and what they do simply serves as the tangible proof of what they believe. It profoundly changed my life. It continues to be the way in which I organize information, make decisions, set strategy, all of it.
It's the North Star.
It is the North Star. And I found a language that made it really easy to understand. And actually, the cool thing is actually grounded in the biology of decision making. So it's not like some highfalutin management theory.
Right.
It's actually grounded in how the brain evolved and makes decisions.
And what about your book world? You've written now, what, 3?
Third book.
Yep.
Yeah, came out today.
This is the day.
This is the
Is
day.
that what's in there?
No.
What the hell? I was super pumped. I'm like, he's got a box.
We sent you some.
I know, but I lost it.
You lost it, so
Yeah.
you didn't even read it.
No, read it. I've never read it. I've read like 4 books in my life, like Joe Namath Life Story.
You do
and,
realize it only has like 200 words in it.
That sounds like a lot. It's a lot of pictures this time,
It
right?
is a lot of pictures.
So what are the 3 books
Okay,
real quick?
so
And
the
we'll
first-
link
the
those up. Indy, I think it's time for you to reassess and re-enter the ecosystem. I feel like,
When it comes
Dunk and Sid and all these characters, nobody can play up to the level of your quality, and so I think we're ready to raise the bar.
Right.
Yes, but before we do that, the 3
Okay,
books.
first book is Start With Why.
Yes.
Which is deeper look into what I've talked about
Yes.
on the TED Talk. Second book is Leaders Eat Last.
Yes.
Which is all about where trust and cooperation come from and how you build trust and
You ever
cooperation.
consider calling it like Leaders Don't Eat at all? Because
That sometimes happens. That sometimes happens. Yeah, that's
all
very
right,
true.
and this new one that
And
comes
the
out
new one that
today.
comes out today is called Together is Better.
Okay.
A little book of inspiration. Yeah, that's what it is. And it's basically a beautiful little illustrated book with quotes and aphorisms, but it's a metaphor. I tell a story of 3 little kids who are dissatisfied with their playground because of a bully, in this case, the metaphor for being a bad boss, and people imagine having a different job or going somewhere else or starting their own business or whatever it is.
Yep.
And the question is, who has the courage to do that?
Yeah.
And so basically it's a story of 3 little kids who find the courage to follow their dreams because they learn to help each other.
Love it.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
So all across America, we hope, and the world, we hope to inspire people leaving organizations 3 at a time.
5 at a time.
10.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. India, let's do it. Oh, a lot of these are all videos, right?
Oh,
Yeah, this is
good.
video.
Real
Look how
questions.
cute
Good, I like this.
Hi, Gary Vee and Simon. I hope all is well. Question that I have for y'all is, can somebody's personal why on why they work for a business vary from the business's why? Or is that just never good? Thanks a lot. Keep climbing.
So if it's your business, the business's why and your why are exactly the same thing.
Yeah, but he's asking if he works for an
He works for a
organization,
separate
he knows
company.
the organization's why. I mean, a lot of people
He
here,
knows the
right?
organization's why
A lot of
and
them know
his
Vayner's why,
Sure.
but they may have separate whys within it. Can they coexist? Can
Sure.
an employee's why and an org's
Sure.
why coexist and everybody wins?
Sure. The simple answer is yes, if they go together. Everybody has their own unique why, and the organization has its own unique why.
Yes.
And if they are
You can go
compatible-
together in a peanut butter and jelly
Yeah,
kind
if
of
they're
metaphor?
compatible, then you will look to the people who have joined the company and say, you're a good fit, you belong here, and they will see themselves as a good fit, and each one is mutually beneficial. In other words, it's like any relationship. You and your wife have different whys, but they're compatible. You see her as helping you grow, and she sees you as helping her grow, etc. It's the exact same thing.
Which is why-
And sometimes it is incompatible.
Which is why divorce rates are very high.
Well, I don't know. It's sometimes incompatible. That's a decision-making problem.
Okay.
But
But it's also an evolution problem, right? Like, if you think about it, one's whys can be really aligned with the organization's today, and 5 years from now, they may not.
No, absolutely not. Not if both not
One more
if both
time, you're
persons-
saying no to that?
No to that.
So you're saying that there's a
Here, let me tell
frozen.
you why. Let me
Hold on,
tell you
before
why.
you do, I want to give you more framework
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm fascinated by
Okay.
your decision to say that. You're saying that things are frozen, and that one's context of how the world, for example, that it's so frozen, both
Yeah.
North Stars, that one who's an employee who's rolling quite along and has a
Sure.
why, but then child dies from cancer along
Yeah.
the way, isn't reframed into the context of where maybe it's not aligned anymore.
No, the word I wouldn't use frozen.
Okay.
You're saying that there can be no growth when you use the word frozen.
Okay.
Your why is fully formed by the time you're in your probably late teens, and the rest of your life is simply an opportunity to live in balance with your why or not. So the decisions you make. And so whether somebody's living, that's why I said before, which is as long as both organization and person are working hard to remain consistent with their cause, then it works fine. Now, the example you give of someone's child dying,
Yes.
Tragedy doesn't form or change your why. Tragedy usually gives us an opportunity to live our why because it makes everything else in the world seem stupid.
Yes.
And it forces us to say there's something bigger and more important here. Very often, tragedy pushes us into why, not the other way around. Not pushes us away from
I
it.
totally agree with you. I think the most extreme things that happen in people's lives actually just accentuates the reality.
It's
of
exactly
what's
who you really
100%.
are. It exactly, the test of someone is not when everything's going great; it's when everything goes wrong. That's
Yeah.
where your true colors show.
Or similar to that, but a slightly different version for everybody. I'm fascinated by people's wealth and fame really not changing them at all, just finally exposing who they actually are.
Yeah.
And that's not a tragedy.
that's
That's
a hard
usually in
thing.
theory a good thing,
That's a
but,
hard thing.
but it's a real thing.
Absolutely.
All right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine if they're different,
Okay.
and as long as they're compatible. And this is why you want to know your why, and this is why you want to find out the company's why, because otherwise you're going to make decisions based on money and benefits, and then there's nothing. It's like making a decision about who to marry based on.
I don't want to sidetrack the show, but it's funny. I'm sitting here. It's why I'm so confident in what I'm building at VaynerMedia, because the platform is being built to be in their benefit, to reverse engineer what they want based on their DNA, whether that is enormous ambition, which is then this is a platform for them to create that, or within a very close ecosystem to me, or quite passive and very nice work life. I have actual zero emotion one way or the other of what they actually want. I just want to build a framework and a platform that gives them those options, and I think that's the great mistake that most businesses
And
make.
isn't that what you preach in your work as well?
100%.
So it's
Yeah, I have no interest in.
So the why is clear internally and externally.
100%.
I love
Which is, because to me, otherwise, everything crumbles in its hypocrisy if you don't do that.
Amen.
Matthew.
Hey Gary, Matt Lamarche here in Atlanta, Georgia. Hope you're doing well. I had a quick question about self-awareness. Do you think it's more about maturity and wisdom, or is it something that you're just built with? Thanks so much for taking the time. Have a great day.
That's a good question.
So I've been talking a lot about self-awareness.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to take the floor first. Maybe you haven't had as much time to ponder this world. What's your take on self-awareness? Do you feel like you have it? Do you feel like it grew? Is it, for example, I believe it is the ultimate power. Once you have that, boy, can you start navigating. I'm struggling because so many people have really caught attention to this and are asking me to help them figure out how to gain more of it. And I'm like, Jesus, this is, there's certain places where your skill set stops. Mine stops at, how am I going to, I don't know. Boy, do I know the people that I know that have it are winning, and not just financially or like they're just in a happy place because of that self-awareness. What is your thought on self-awareness?
Yeah, I think it's a skill like any other.
So you do think it's something that can be
Some
developed?
people might have natural capacity for it however they were raised, like any other skill. You know, like
In the world.
some people are good at basketball, and some people have to work very hard.
Hello, sir.
Do you think one caps out though? In a basketball analogy, Dunk is a nice looking athlete, but he's never going to be an NBA player. He has a ceiling of his basketball skills. Do you think people have a ceiling?
I don't know if people have a ceiling, but I think self-awareness is a skill, learnable skill. And I think the one of the big things about self-awareness is we don't really know how we're being perceived. We think we know how we're being perceived. And sometimes we
What
act
the
that way,
fuck?
You know, when we act all pompous because we want to appear strong, but we appear weak. And,
That's right.
You know, we're not always
Which is a
aware.
comment, by the way.
Which is right. And so I think the big thing about learning to be self-aware is being open to the feedback from people who love you and care about you, who are willing to say to you, when you said that, you looked and sounded like an ass.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
And
funny.
to be open to that kind of harsh, but from a good place critique is the only way to
What?
learn how
It's
you,
funny,
how you come across.
it's funny you said that. I think the closest I've ever gotten to answer this is that, and then comma, actually putting that inner circle in a safe place to tell you the truth.
Exactly right.
Because those same people are scared crap. You know, they love you.
And if you're defensive the whole time, then
Game over.
Then you are not learning self-awareness.
I would tell you that my reading of comments over the last decade on social, and taking each with a grain of salt. Your biggest fans, you can only let your ego go so far, and you know you're aware that some people troll for the sake of getting reactions from the community, things of that nature. But the net, the millions in a net composite score has definitely been. I would always say that listening has done a lot more for me, even though I love to talk and always talk. That consumption pattern it has been a very big deal.
So there's a wonderful story
Please.
about listening.
Okay.
The problem when people say you need to be a better listener is we're human beings and we need to communicate, and communication is two ways, listening and speaking. But everybody's like, you got to be a better listener. Like, but here's the best understanding I have of it. So Nelson Mandela is universally regarded as a great leader, which is important because different people are viewed differently in different nations. But Nelson Mandela universally regarded as a great leader, right? He was actually the son of a tribal chief, and he was asked in an interview once, "How did you learn to be a great leader?" And he tells a story of how he would go to tribal meetings with his father, and he remembers two things. They always sat in a circle, and his father was always the last to speak. And in terms of leadership and listening, I think the idea of be a better listener is actually half the advice. I think the advice is practice being the last to speak. You see this all the time in meetings where everybody will sit around a room. The senior guy will be like, "Right, here's the problem. Here's what I think we should do, but I'm really interested in what your thoughts are.
Yes.
Let's go around the room." It's too late. You've influenced
You've
the room.
created the framework.
And people bend and mold as opposed to saying, "Here's the problem. I'm interested in what you have to say," without saying anything, and not even having this. And this takes practice. Not even giving a hint whether you agree or disagree. If anything, you ask questions to learn more. You get the benefit of hearing everybody's opinion. Everybody gets to feel heard, and then you get to render your
So
opinion.
I would tell you, and this is for people that are running businesses, that is a micro example of the way, and I think makes a ton of sense. I would tell you, Andy, you obviously direct report to me, you run our team. I think people would be stunned by how little we talk at all. Like the level of the level of micromanagement I put on, like my version of that is actually letting people do their thing and watching it from speaking last. But I guess my punchline is by the time I get into the meeting, where we're like, here's the problem, the amount of listening that has been done because I've created such a white canvas for the leaders to do their thing, and I can watch it and contextualize what they're doing, is the macro version. Because once you're in that meeting room, that's basically the final pitch of what's been going on over that period of time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I believe in that quite a bit. Okay, good. I mean, I think, I on the other hand do think that all skills have a max out. At some level, your hardwiring, limits.
So you can't continue to grow till the day you die?
No, I think that's the black and white version of that. I think that you can continue to make incremental steps, but I think that there are people.
So there's diminishing returns kind of.
Absolutely, I believe that because
Yeah.
I believe some people are just delirious in this chase that they're going to be at this upside of any skill, and people lose practicality at some level.
And the question is where is everybody? If here is the max out,
Right.
diminishing returns.
That's right.
The question is
did you stop
does
here?
anybody
Yes.
even get here? I mean,
Yeah.
I think most people are still in here.
Which is why I'm always very careful to not play too much to the negative because I don't want somebody to stop here. But at the same token, in a world where there's a lot of voices and everybody can do everything, we need to level some level of practicality.
Yeah, that's
thank you. Bill.
Hey, Gary and Simon. My name is Bill Clancy.